Hello, everyone. We're going live right now. So I'm here with Benefactor, and we're going to do a video today on live stream. Hopefully, we got everything correct and everybody can comment. Sorry for the late notice, but here we go. So we're going to talk about a few things today. Talk about some circuits. Talk about anything that comes to your guys' mind on the live stream. Let us know. Uh, Usually, I leave a little leeway before we start something like this, but we have an opportunity today to speak together. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this is I labeled this stream the Fringe think tank.
Right on.
So yeah, so pretty much
Doing some
what I
crazy
want to
work.
yeah, what I want to do is just, think of some crazy ideas for phase 2 testing. Maybe we can gather the materials list together. Um there was also something I wanted to talk about regarding the rodent coil. You sent me some rodent coil videos, right? Did you want to watch those?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So we got a couple of things we can get into. For now, let me load up those videos real quick and we'll get into that real quick. All right.
Sorry about this, guys, if we're a little off. This is our first time using StreamYard for this. And not, just being a guest is one thing, being a host is totally different. So just give us a little leeway on this. We'll get it together.
Yeah, and I didn't have time to put together a proper presentation today, unfortunately, but we're still going to go over some stuff. I want to get phase 2 testing down. I was hoping Mike would come on at some point to help us with that. And also, Nathan had some rodent coil videos I'm trying to find. They're somewhere in our email chain. Somewhere. Oh, here we go. I got them. All right. So let's start out with this Marco Rodin, because Marco is absolutely he's amazing. Like every time he speaks, I'm captivated with everything he has to say. So we're gonna play this, and I'm gonna put it up. So what I can actually do, Nathan, is I think I can put the window up. So I think I can share the window, so we can both watch it together. Yep, I think that's no. Is that it? Window. No, that's not it. Oh,
All right,
there we
guys.
go. Oh yeah, it's okay.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. So that
Okay.
is it right there.
So are you able to hit play on it, or
Oh, yep. There we go.
I'm not hearing him?
You're not hearing it?
No.
Let's see. Huh. Let me try sharing it again. You know what? I could just download it real quick and then upload it like that if you want me to. Oh, hold on. Here it is. There's a little button here that says share system audio. Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
I knew it was something stupid. Okay, there we go.
Struggling through it. We're getting there.
Yeah. All right. How about? Can you hear it now?
There we go. Yeah, I'm not hearing it right now at all.
That's weird. Present it again. if anything, I mean, I could maybe have you watch it on my stream, but that would be kind of confusing with the audio. Let me try this. You hear it now?
I'm not hearing anything.
Oh, maybe you have to present it. Try bringing it up.
What's in the middle of this?
There it is. Go ahead and rewind
awesome.
I think there's
Okay,
an emanation.
my bad.
I discovered that you can't bisect a circle. There's no such thing as a 2D circle. Everything's really 3D.
Yeah,
Everything has breadth, width, height.
this is exactly what I try to
Do you have any
explain in
questions?
divine science.
What's in the middle of this again?
I think there's an emanation. That's spirit. It could be coming out of the center of the zone. I just haven't explained polarity. Positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. But it isn't based on that. See how the positive is always a mirroring of a negative, the positive is always a mirroring of a negative, the positive is always a negative. But for every positive, you have a negative in two positives, you have a negative in the center. And for every negative,
Three
two
components.
negatives, you have a positive in the center. The center is the control. It looks like it's binary, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. It looks like it's binary, 1, 2, 4, 8, but it isn't. Because you see this right here? The binary code, now this is real serious, Ben, is over a triangle. That's called triangulation. If you follow the binary code, the angular ratio, if you add every two numbers together that's consecutively in sequence touch, 1 plus 2 is 3. 2 plus 4 is 6. 4 plus 8 is 12 is 3. 8 and 7 is 15 equals 6. 7 plus 5 is 12 equals 3. 5 and 1 is 6. It's always 3, 6, 3, 6. What is the binary code doing on a triangle, a triangulated net? It shouldn't be that way. It's profound. Still with me a little?
That is
Let me
profound.
jump tracks for a second.
Yeah, but there's a geometry to it as well.
Revised scripture. There's a book called The Hidden Words, the Seven Valleys.
No, that's
Four
right.
Valleys.
That's right.
Some are poetic, some are mystical, some are explain prophecy. They're very enriching. It's just exquisite, the language, the rapture, the abstraction. So yeah, your question was, how does this relate to God and creation? How do I show perfection? How do I tie it all together? And it's a big job, a very, very big job. So as I talked earlier with Ben, we talked for several hours. It was exhausting. I actually watched him get tired. What? Yeah. How you going, guys? This is the I think they call it the linchpin. It's the key to everything. There can never be a mistake in it. There can never be wrong. There's no redundancy, and there's nothing that exists outside it.
There's no irrational numbers in vortex math.
It's called the gut equation, grand unified field theory. There isn't one thing that it doesn't explain.
I haven't seen that video yet. That's interesting.
Yeah, it goes into some wild stuff, man. You actually have to understand geometry when you do this stuff. There's just too much physical geometry not to do it. And when he talks about everything in 3 6s, and then he doesn't mention the 9, but anytime you mirror a 30 30 30 triangle, you're going to get 3 3 3, you know what I mean, and then flip it.
Right.
So,
hey, Crypto, how you doing? Welcome.
So yeah. Anyway, so just so we understand this, I always looked at the rodent coil as a energy flow. So when you see a toroidal, you see a divider and another toroidal. When you're talking about the ether, just understand he's tapping into the actual energy flow of the coil. So
Mhm.
in order to do that, you're going to have to understand geometry, and the geometry is going to have to work just right in order to get that flow.
So, let me hear your take on the 369, or as Marco puts it, the 396 regarding to me it seems like, and this goes back to, you know, the relevance of asymmetry in physics, right? So it seems like that to me is a sort of equilibrium for asymmetry. What's your opinion on that, or what's your take on that?
It's just all dividable because he's making equal spacing everywhere.
But do you think asymmetry is relevant in some way here?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This device is energy flow. So whatever you put in the center of it, it does circles. That's all it's going to do. However, you don't have two set up. So setting up two would divide that. And what I'd love to see is if the ball bearings stay in the center, but between two coils.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to be getting some smaller neodymium spheres to test that. And, you know, I just had an idea, and this is a very big leap, but the idea is sound if we can figure out how to manipulate the spin of the neodymium sphere, right? And I think we can do that because the polarity showed to be switching depending on the frequency with the cymatics test. Now, if that's true, and we can manipulate the direction of the neodymium sphere by adjusting the frequency, then to me, that seems like we can build a spherical wheel, right? You know, you see the futuristic cars with the spheres as wheels, but you know, in order to do that, you have to have some kind of maglev technology where it's not touching, right?
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Yes and no. Just remember, okay, I was telling you before, take a vase, put it on your top of your coil, okay, where it goes right in the center. Get it to come out like this. We'll put water in there, put the magnet in there. Now, seal it. Do the same thing on the second coil on the bottom, right? The magnets will hold each other right there as they're sitting together in the center. When you flow that energy, okay, and it flows on the top, we'll just reverse it on the bottom. And that's pretty simple. Just put it in from the other side. Then what we should get is a double vortex out of this thing.
Right. You know, and from what I've been reading, that's the double vortex is really like the counter rotating vortexes is how you would achieve anti-gravitic effects too, right?
Yeah, so it's that's why I say it's energy flow. So now you're supposed to understand it, and all you got to do is add spacing in between the magnets and get them where they're on and off, and then you can even go a step further. Instead of using a sphere for a magnet, start using flat magnets so that they pulse away from each other when they come across each other. So that would actually have a driving force to give you a pulse inside the whole thing.
Right. So you're using the field geometry of the magnet to shape the energy.
Yeah. That's, see what I'm saying? There's a whole different level here that we got to get to.
Right.
You know, one coil is great, but two are a masterpiece.
And you know, there's a lot of cool things we can do with two coils. There's the pickup method for wireless transmission of energy. Supposedly, they have the ability to transmit, you know, wireless energy if you know, put them on top of each other. But that's more of an inductance thing, I think, and than you know, like a Tesla coil wireless energy transfer. But it's still possible. And there's also the speaker. If you stack them on top of each other, you can create a really high quality speaker. And I'm interested in doing some things with that.
If you're talking Tesla coil, build a bipolar Tesla coil and put the primary coil on the inside in the center. And I bet you we'll get some cool tricks out of that, because that'll be more like what you're dealing with the Earth.
Right. That's interesting you say that, because I think in order to actually synchronize the neodymium sphere completely, we have to use the Schumann resonance.
Okay. Please explain.
So, when I was messing with the neodymium sphere, the strongest effect I got was between 7 and 8 hertz.
Okay.
And I wasn't able to get any kind of like vibration outside of the vortex, but I did get vibration outside of the vortex at the Schumann resonance. So that, and the neodymium sphere was doing really weird stuff. Like I seen it spin real fast, and I seen it, go all the way, almost all the way around the diameter of the plastic cup, but I've never seen it like spin slowly back and forth like it was like almost like it was a stable spin, but it wasn't powerful enough to go all the way around.
Gotcha. We can fix that.
Yeah.
All we got to do is pulse it at the right rate.
So with that, oh, we got do we have some chats? Let's see. Hey, Misunderstood, how you doing? Hey, Joe. Remember finding 369 correlation and some of Tom Bearden's scalar theories in one of his books. Yeah, and just a reminder, Tesla did study the Sanskrit texts, which is basically analogous to vortex math. They both utilize single digits that are digits that reduce down to a single digit, and the other patterns of vortex math are reflected in the Sanskrit math. So it makes you wonder, like Tesla had the keys, there in the Sanskrit form. I wonder if he understood that numbers are actually physical vectors in space-time that fold out.
He could have. That guy knew just about everything. I can tell you that.
Mm-hmm. And
every time you pull a layer back from him, you get another one.
yeah, it's like an onion. But
yeah, it's crazy to deal with that.
And he did this like over 100 years ago. It's impressive. But I think he was, he was obviously a genius, but he was also open-minded to, possibilities that other scientists were closed off to.
Yeah, one thing I would like to do with one of your coils, they have another coil that they use. It's like flat on the outside. Just has the grooves in it for the wire.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so take one of those, put it in clear. So make it all clear. Then have a spot where you can put the BBs in or little ball bearings in, and then let the energy flow and see which way it goes. And if they sit up or what do they do? Because again, we're talking about energy flow with this thing. You have.
Well, no, that's a good idea. That's a very good idea to see visually see like how the energy is flowing in which direction and all that.
Yeah, because it's like if I were going to relate it to the world, right? You would look at magma veins, and you'd also look at water veins in the earth. So basically, wherever it tunnels through, those are your 2 points. So they're both electrically conductive if the water has salt in it more than just straight water, but they can cross over each other without a problem. The magma itself will have basalt in it, or it'll make basalt when it dries. So that in itself will be energy flow right there, no matter how you do it with the magnetic field.
Interesting. A little geology there for you. You're busting out the big rocks today.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. Geology is a fun subject, man, especially when you get into like piezoelectricity, how it affects things. How crystals change everything and you resonate. When you can get the oxygen in a crystal to resonate, you got this thing lighting up for days. So just think of that when you talk about the center of the earth. I don't think this coil is the center. I think it's a outside dimension. You know what I mean? It's more like getting close to the crust of the earth and how it flows versus what's actually on the inside. My personal opinion, I don't think it's a core of magma. Okay, it's more of a resonance chamber. And
the Rodin coil.
Yeah, the Rodin coil is on the outside. Okay, it's more of an energy flow. It's there to describe the energy flow. On the inside of the earth, you'd have a resonance chamber. It's the only thing that when you do resonance from one coil to the next on Tesla coils, it can pick up the exact frequency. So if the sun's giving out a frequency, the earth picks it up and we're getting energy from that frequency, just like 2 Tesla coils. So it would make sense in doing that. And if you're doing that with the actual crystals in there inside that center, then game over, man. You got a whole different world going on than what we ever thought it was.
Yeah, that's fascinating. You know, it's my belief that the coil isn't actually producing a monopole, but it's more like a pseudo monopole. Like it's like a representation of what a monopole is, you know? So it's not like a true desktop black hole or a plasmoid or micro ball lightning. It's just simulating something that it does.
Yeah. I saw a guy who was taking one of the neodynamotics, like you have, the round one. And what he was doing is he runs his coils in at an angle. So when you guys saw that thing on the Joe Rogan show, I forget the guy's name, Terrence Howard. When he was doing it, he was doing the exact same experiment that Terrence Howard was talking about, except for he placed a neodymium ball in the center, a magnet, and it spun like crazy. But it still was divided by coils at angles, and the specific angle of the coil would make it rotate one way or the other. One of the most interesting things I've ever seen on the internet right there.
Yeah, that's crazy. This coil, it has such amazing abilities. Like I'm learning new things that it can do every day. And one of the things that it actually supposedly has, and I've been kind of skeptical about, is the healing properties. But I did hurt my toe the other day. I cut it pretty bad, like to the point where it was bleeding very bad. Yeah, and I almost needed stitches, but I got it to stop bleeding. And then, I pulsed it. I pulsed it at 432 hertz for like 5 minutes that night. And the next day, I didn't feel any inflammation. It was weird. But I didn't pulse it that next day, and the day after, I did still start to feel it. So I'm wondering if, it had any effect or not.
No, the next time you cut your foot, just go back over to it, man. And you have to do it consistently, though.
Yeah. No, I was afraid to do it too much because, never know what these frequencies can do. But 432 is notorious for being a good healing frequency. So I don't know. I might do more experimenting with it. I just have to be careful.
I get concerned when people telling me that 432 is a healing frequency, only for this reason. We get that frequency out of the earth, but we don't know what manipulated on the way up. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. That's a very good point. What is there could be an original frequency before it was manipulated, you're saying?
Yeah, so exactly that. So we don't know until we test each one. And the best way to do it, is like scientists do it. Put it in a little petri dish, run the frequency to it, see what it does. And then we can build fields around the actual petri dish. That's not too hard. We can do that, and then we can test it on a frequency just inside that field. So even if you build, a simple, what do they call that thing? The something cage. It's a
Faraday cage.
Yeah, Faraday cage. So you build the Faraday cage and you put it around this petri dish. You electrify it on the outside with static electricity. Check inside now, see what it does. It's only the frequency that's given off on the inside will take care of it. If there's nothing on the inside, that means that you're blocking out everything on the outside. Now, will the immune system pick it up and heal it? So
that's a good experiment. Yeah, because the Faraday cage would act as the control for that. So
yeah, that would be an example of the Integratron when they built this thing. That's exactly what he wanted to do.
And I do want to do experiments with the coil and plant growth, but my problem is since the Newton's research is all gone, I don't know what frequency they were pulsing at. So, yeah, I mean, crypto, I know, did a lot of watching of their YouTube videos. I never saw one of their YouTube videos. By the time I got to their research, it was already gone. But maybe crypto has some more information about what frequencies they were possibly using to pulse the plants.
You know what? Google it.
Google it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you think I should just stick with the basic Royal Rife
No,
frequency?
no, no. What you want to do is Google it and then pick out different programs, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on TikTok, whether it's on
Mhm.
YouTube. There's videos in different places. Okay. Then when you do a video on the subject, I know at least when I do it on my channel, there's a lot of people out there that have the information and they know where to find it, and they'll send you a link on it and you'll have it. See what I'm saying? That's how I
Yeah.
research things. I don't just stick on
Awesome.
one platform for it.
No, that's smart. And then if anybody who's watching has any information on that, please feel free to drop it in the chat or email me. I think I'm gonna give Mike a little time. Maybe he'll show up and join us. So I don't know. Did you want to start?
Just play that other video. The guy who has 2 rodent coils and he's telling you about something, man. It's really interesting.
Oh, you talk about alchemical science, the Jordan Collin video? Yeah, I love alchemical science. So let's put that up.
I mean, people are still doing these experiments, so somebody caught it somewhere. So I always just, I just send a message to the person who is doing the experiment and see if they have the answers.
Yeah, no, there are people still experimenting with these coils. It's just, they, for some reason, not a lot of them post a lot of videos of their, it's not like they're publicly posting videos of their experiments. There's maybe 2 videos I found on YouTube in my entire searches that have the Nunez design actually working. Somebody got it to work, and it was very hard to find those videos. They're like, and both of them were 10 years old, by the way, too.
Yeah, well, it was popular back then. You have to bring it back now.
Yes, we will be bringing it back as soon as I get these coils into more hands. Like, send you a coil to mess with and, have fun with. And then we have a bunch of people, testing these coils, putting up videos on YouTube, and, it will catch on. People will start. It's like a wave, it's like a tide. It comes and goes. They can't keep it away forever.
Yep. Always get people working on different things.
And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to open source it, because if we have these coils in as many hands as possible, then, they can't really say anything. It's not like they could be like, oh, that doesn't work, or you're just a crock pot. No, there's like thousands of people who have these coils using them right now. You have no leg to stand on in this argument, sir.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, that's just what I was envisioning, like a bunch of people having the coils and testing them.
I'd like to test it in the garden. To be honest with you, just 2 separate areas. One set up with just the magnet and the seed, just just generic magnet, round one. Put that in there with the seed in the center, and then bury it, and it grows faster. But then, can I set up another coil on the other side of the garden and one of these rodent coils? Will it grow even faster than that?
Yeah. And, I think it will. It's just a matter of getting your setup right and getting the right frequency.
Oh, there you go. That's what we need.
Yeah. But no, I mean, the more people we have testing these, the more data we have. You know what I mean? Because there's so many frequency ranges you can go through, and that probably produce all sorts of different effects. But, like one person going through them all is going to take forever. So,
we'll just have to do a little research. Somebody somewhere has something, so I'll find it.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's exactly right. It's out there somewhere. We just gotta find it. All right, I'm gonna play this one from. It's a introduction to the rodent coil from Alchemical Science. Jordan Collin is a good friend of mine. I've been in contact with him, and he's helped me on some of my own research with the coil and divine science. He's actually really busy with the thunderstorm generator right now. He's working with Malcolm Bendel. I'm very jealous. But yeah, let's put this on.
I added it. I got no volume again. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, it's got no volume on this thing. Did you put it on?
Oh, it's got no volume? Oh, 1 second. You don't hear that?
Go ahead and hit play. It's on pause. Nope.
You don't hear it?
No.
Okay, 1 second. Let me share it again.
Yeah, whatever magic you pulled last time, man, we got to do it again.
Oh, here we go. I forgot to hit the button. That's what.
There you go. All right. Come on now.
Radiant energy. Welcome to Alchemical Science. I'm Jordan, the self-taught farmer, electrical engineer, and physicist who conducts open source research in the areas of unified field theory, soil science, plant biology, radiant energy, neuroscience, and the energy systems of the human body. I'm also a practicing alchemist, and so I try to employ a research methodology that's informed and directed by the hypothesis that there is a universal pattern that can be observed in all aspects of the natural world. We just need to look for it. My research is fully open source, and no new ideas expressed in my videos can be patented. In this video, we're going to talk about what a rodent coil is and why it's unique, and a little bit about how they're made. We won't delve too deep into the mathematics of the coils.
Is it just me, or does it look like his coil is bound and twisted, or is it just like? Does it look like it's loosely wound together?
I can't see it. You got some kind of thing across the bottom.
Rodent, but I will provide.
Turn off the closed caption
for
a second.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I can't tell. Is that twisted, or is that just like he wound it around and kind of tried to keep them together?
No, it looks about right. Just wire being stiff. He's got a big coil there, so that can't be small wire.
No. I'm wondering if he twisted his wires like I do.
Oh,
in a bundle.
You spin them?
Yeah,
Keep
or
them tight?
yeah, I can't tell.
No, hit play. Let's find out.
Two of Rodin's contemporaries who helped develop the practical application of his mathematics to coils in the description, and allowed a few other rodent coil aficionados down there as well. So some time ago now, this mathematician Marco Rodin publicized his theory, which utilizes Pythagorean-based mathematics and revelations from the Baha'i scriptures to form a new body of mathematics he called vortex-based mathematics. It's reasonably complex at first glance, but it's also surprisingly simple. Rodin calls it fourth grade mathematics, and he derides calculus. I encourage anyone interested to check out the links to the work of Rodin and his contemporaries in the description. But for the mildly curious or those who are confused by Rodin's mathematics, this video should serve as a good introduction to the practical application of Rodin's mathematics to coil design. So what is a Rodin coil versus a regular coil? A regular coil being either a standard Tesla coil or a Tesla pancake coil, a Tesla bifilar pancake coil, or various other shapes that use the arch form to compress the field into certain geometries. So this is an image of a ferrocell credit of Ken Wheeler and the inventor Tim Vanderally. This image is from the book Uncovering the Missing Secrets of Magnetism by Ken Wheeler. So you can check out that book if you want to see the source and more about the magnetic field as it's displayed in this photo. But essentially, this is what a Rodin coil is trying to emulate. Although this is just a photo of the magnetic field of a magnet, this is actually the geometry of, the atom, the Planck, the magnetic field of Earth, of human beings, on all sides of the scale, at least according to unified physics. So the idea of the Rodin coil and Rodin's vortex-based mathematics is to emulate that field pattern and lower the resistance of the coil. So, all these different kinds of coils compress the magnetic field in different ways, and I'll link to an article that explains that quite well. But I won't go into it too deeply now either. But you can check out, what the difference of these geometries is. But I'm going to focus on the Rodin coil geometry in this video. But yeah, check out Cam Wheeler and that article if you want to know more about that and the difference between other coils and how they compress the field. So otherwise, there's been a few different kind of Rodin coil designs that come out. This one's kind of the standard Rodin coil. This is a design by Tom Barnett and his mathematics, based on Rodin's mathematics. And it's a nested coil, but a normal Rodin coil looks much like this as well. This one is an interference coil design, and the geometry of this one is actually incorrect, and we're kind of working on those mathematics based on Tom Barnett's stuff. And this design, I think it was by a user, Spard something or other, which I'll link to in the comments as well, this particular 3D printed frame.
I just want to pause this real quick and give this thought out here, or put this thought out here. So I have seen some of Jordan, or I've read his Rodin coil guide and seen some of his videos, and he doesn't really talk about achieving over unity. I'm wondering if he doesn't know about the Nunez method and is thinking the geometry is not accurate, or if he's thinking that the geometry can be more accurate to produce different effects. So he didn't really specify that in his Rodin coil guide if he actually achieved some of the over unity effects. He just says if you're looking to experiment with over unity, know what you're doing. That's literally all his guide says. So I'm kind of wondering if he achieved over unity, or if this new coil design is supposed to be more accurate and produce different, like more over unity or something.
I think he doesn't want his YouTube channel to go away.
You know what? It might be.
As soon as you start saying those words, man, they start coming.
Yeah, I mean it might be, but at this point, I'm on a trajectory that I don't think I can go back.
Sometimes, man, it's better just to show the results and have everybody pick up on it than to announce to the world what you got. You get a little further that way sometimes.
Yeah, and that's all I really want is people to try to build these themselves and see for themselves, like, how they work. And they do produce some unique effects. So it's very disappointing to me that we don't see more engineers, like famous engineers like Electric Boom, working on something like this.
Electric Boom isn't about this stuff. Let me just tell you something right now. He builds simple circuits to have you understand them, and then he electrocutes himself. So I love that channel, by the way. The heated seat was my favorite episode. Every time he sits down there, I know he's going to burn his butt, man, but that was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. I was playing that for like a week straight, man, when I woke up in the morning, and just to get a good laugh.
I know I seen a video of him when he collabed with Linus Tech Tips, and he did the static wrist test, for static buildup or whatever.
Oh, for those static things they put over the GPUs and stuff?
I think they were testing to see if the static wrist wraps actually work to protect circuit damage from static buildup or whatever.
Did it work?
I don't remember, honestly. Yeah, and I think it depends on how big the static build is and what the material is made of. If you get a cheap one, it probably won't work for a certain threshold, I can imagine, right?
Yeah, I just do the safe thing. I never work on my computer where there's carpet.
Yeah.
And generally a safe bet, you're okay.
Yeah, and because I built my computer too, and I tell people don't keep it on the carpet,
Oh, I don't know who does that.
I've seen people do it.
Oh my god!
But
you know how much junk it collects in there, like just
dust and all that. Yeah,
oh.
And not to mention the static buildup too. When you're dragging your socks around the carpet.
Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't seem right. Look, I paid a lot of money for the parts of my computer. I'm not about to put it at risk for that. I say that, and then all of a sudden I start sparking off stuff in my garage and having it go off, and I'm probably going to blow it up that way.
Hey, did you see the last clip I put in there of Tony Stark in the pre-production video I was messing
I
with?
did.
That's
funny.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. Oh, well, we'll get into that later and go over some ideas or some of your ideas to see what we can flesh out there. Because I I try, but I can't. I have my own style, so. But if you kind of guide me into what you want with your intro video, I think I could do a good job with it.
Right on, man. We'll look at that in a bit. Play the video. Let's see what he's got.
All right.
But yeah, there was some other types of rodent coil designs that came out when it was less easy to 3D print frames, and there were some flat ones like the rodent starship coil and things like that. And look, I don't have a lot of interest in those designs. I think they were really just coming up with them because there wasn't easy ways to make toroids, and no one really knew how to apply rodent's mathematics to making a correct toroidal design. So my focus is really on these types of coils, the full toroid, and now we're working on making these the correct geometry, which this one is, although there's a few questionable parts about how many different wires are going through, but we're looking into that, and I'll do another video about that in the future. But yeah, otherwise, this is about minimizing the compression of the magnetic field, and those field lines, it takes the longest path essentially through the dielectric portal each time, and our dielectric energy is our dielectric.
Oh yeah, I can see his wires aren't twisted together; they're not bundled. See the spaces?
They're not crossing either.
Yeah, that's not. He doesn't have the interference pattern on this one either, which means you would need to hook it up as the Nunes method, where you have one, you have the positive going in one channel and the negative going the opposite way in the other channel.
Field is going to be concentrated in this central area because of the coil geometry.
He might
and
not
so all of the other
with that
standard
method.
coil methods, tuning methods, everything like that still apply, but the geometry of the coil does matter, and we can see that it compresses the magnetic field in different ways, and the rodent coils produce some really interesting effects, which I'll be
He keeps on emphasizing the compression of the field, which is important, but the twisted wires do that the most, right? Twisting them together ensures that they're all compressed evenly, or as evenly as possible without any of the spaces.
exploring in future videos as well. So yeah, the correct proportions for the rodent coil, again, we're going to go into the mathematics in another video, but you can watch Tom Barnett's video on it for now, and it's really excellent, kind of explains the basics. It may seem a little esoteric, but once you start just applying it to coils and just downloading other people's designs, it just gives you some factors to look for on correctly designing the coils. So the outer to the inner diameter ratio on these ones, as far as we can tell, is correct, and to the phi ratio. So that's what's important in the rodent coil design, aside from the actual geometry of the toroid. So, and also the cross-section diameter of the toroid is also the outer diameter minus the inner diameter divided by 2. So those are the two kind of major factors in that. But we'll do a full video on the mathematics a little bit later. So then, there's the nested coils, which this one is. So you can see it actually contains a smaller coil in the middle there. You may not be able to see.
Cool.
So Roden
line.
talks about, I forget what he calls it, but Tom Barnett calls it the first, third, fifth order, and so on coils. And these are continuously stacking coils that fit together and again emulate this natural magnetic toroidal field quite well and concentrate the dielectric in the center. So I'm just beginning to explore these nested designs where you design.
Nope. What happened there? You lose it? Is that it? Benefactor, did you lose it? I think we lost him. Oh, man. Well, that's bad.
For what I'm putting into it. So
There we go.
really interesting effect.
Oh. Yeah.
Welcome to the correct geometry through the dielectric portal each time, and our coil in the middle there.
Remember
you may
where we
not be
left
able
off.
to see. So Rodin talks about ratio, so that's what's important in the Rodin coil. Again, we're going to go into the mathematics, the compression of the magnetic field, and those field lines, 3D print frames, and they were some flat ones like the Rodin Starship coil, Rodin's mathematics. It's on the Rodin coil geometry in this video. But yeah, check out Ken Wheeler and that article. But yeah, there was some other types of Rodin coil designs that came out when it was less easy to 3D print frames, and they were some flat ones like the Rodin Starship magnetic field.
Man, you're way off now.
Yeah, where did we leave off? I don't remember.
A bit more. You're a bit further than that.
Go into the mathematics in another video, but you can watch Tom Barnett's
Just a little bit more.
lines. It just gives you some factors to look for on correctly designing the coils correct and to the phi ratio. So that's what's important in the Rodin coil design, aside from the actual geometry of the toroid. So and also the cross-section diameter of the toroid is also the outer diameter minus the inner diameter divided by 2. So those are the two kind of major factors in that. But we'll do a full video on the mathematics a little bit later. So then, yeah, there's the nested coils, which this one is. So you can see it actually contains a smaller coil in the middle there. You may not be able to see so well. So Rodin talks about, I forget what he calls it, but Tom Barnett calls it the first, third, fifth order, and so on coils. And these are continuously stacking coils that fit together and again emulate this natural magnetic toroidal field quite well and concentrate the dielectric in the center. So I'm just beginning to explore these nested designs. We're designing our own new frame, which I'll again be doing a video about and uploading those designs so you can print them yourself and try them out. But yeah, for now, I don't know a lot about the nested coils. It has some interesting effects. And certainly even this coil isn't tuned at all, which that's something I found out more recently. But it still has a very high wireless transfer of power between the coils, and it steps up the voltage quite considerably for what I'm putting into it. So really interesting effects to explore there.
Okay, so it sounds like he is achieving some kind of over unity. Because wireless transfer of power, I mean, unless it's not maintaining the current. Huh, interesting.
The other thing I'm really interested in is this interference coil design. And as I say, I believe this coil is the incorrect geometry completely. But the point is you can see that I've got these opposing windings in this coil. So it's wound once around the toroid in a full Rodin turn in one direction, and then a second completely separate wire is wound in the other direction to kind of create.
Okay, so this is not the same as my coil. He's using, it looks like 2 channels, 2 wires that aren't connected, but they're just individuals, not in series with anything. I'm also skeptical that this will produce any kind of significant over unity effect either, but it could, maybe.
Maybe just searching for the energy flow.
Yeah. I mean, according to the Nunes themselves, it's really about getting that energy to flow in the right path, like you said. That's all it's about.
this pattern here. And what that's actually creating is, well, my initial experiments are showing that that's creating a kind of cancelling effect on the magnetic field. So it gives us a bit more play on what the coil can do, and we can adjust the frequency of each channel, I'm calling them, you know, like channel 1 going around clockwise, channel 2 going anti-clockwise. And yeah, we can produce some interesting effects with these as well that I'm going to explore. And that design was by Jamie Buturf, who I believe, and I'll link to his channel down in the description as well. But yeah, in the future, we're going to be doing a video on the mathematics and how to apply that to making the toroids, designing your own or using ours, but being able to verify the mathematics. And also a guide to printing and winding and tuning the coils, both just an individual coil and these nested designs. Exploring these interference coils more, and yeah, how we can explore their effects with a frequency generator, etc. And also just on tuning the coils. And I've got an interesting tip there from Nikola Tesla and Eric Dollard about an easy way to tune these rather than the more complicated methods. But we will also go through using an oscilloscope and a signal generator to tune coils as well. So subscribe, like the video if you're interested in that content, and comment if you're interested in seeing more of it, or if you...
So yes, subscribe to Alchemical Science right now is a great channel. I am actually wondering if, because I know that Tesla specifically tuned his coils by weighing them and measuring out the exact weight of coil that he had, right? Or am I mistaken in that?
I don't know what his method was. I didn't read up on it.
So from what I understand, and he weighed out exactly the amount of coil that he had, so he knew the exact resonant frequency. So if you know the weight, I guess, of the coil, you know, the size of it, you can do some math and calculate the exact resonance of the coil or resonant frequency. You
calculate the inductance amount. So the amount of ohms that are in it is what you'll get if you run your multimeter from one end to the next. It'll tell you that. And then based on its capacitors, you can find out the inductance into the coil. So yeah, and then there is a math. I have a calculator on it that it will tell you the resonance frequency of it.
Yeah, so I think that's what he's talking about. So you just measure out, you weigh out how much material you have, and then there's some math that you can do, and you have your frequency or your frequency range or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking at that with my Tesla coil project when I was going back and forth with Sean on this thing, and he does it by the inductance and all that method. I like to find out the frequency on a computer program, calculate the amount of inches I'll need for it, and then go that way. But there's two different points of view on seeing it.
Joe says, I believe Tesla was also left-handed, making him a divergent thinker. I'm left-handed. I don't know what that means, though. Cymactics to see what frequencies may do. Charles says he was the only one back a year ago, but I think he lost some enthusiasm after speaking with Roden. Who are you talking about, Charles? You talking about Jordan from Alchemical Science? Because I know he spoke with Roden a while ago, and then he kind of like switched and pivoted to have enthusiasm about the thunderstorm generator. So, yeah, he hasn't really done anything with the Roden coil for a while. Oh, you got another video here. Let's watch this video.
Hey, hold on real quick before you play it.
Yeah.
Gerald, if you do have your presentation and you want to show it here, by all means, let me know. I sent you a link to your email.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to join and show it, even if you just want to give a little sneak preview, we're all interested, man. We all thought it sucked that your computer ate your program. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was a really unfortunate series of events, but we're behind you 100%, whatever we can do.
Yeah, definitely. All right, man, let's see what this video's got to offer us.
All right, let's see. You still got it up? Okay, yep.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to share an update here. Project Abha is fully wound, and
I
what
don't think
we're
I've
doing
seen
in this
this.
video is feeding energy from Project Abha into Clearview and then through a plant. So through this little coil over there, and that's energizing the plant, and then it feeds into this LED/neon arrangement. So what I wanted to show you all is that the input energy is a steady reading of 0.873 or 0.872. It goes up and down slightly, and that's coming from the signal generator. Now we're operating at a lower frequency at 36 kilohertz. That frequency is fed into Project Abha, and then the energy that's coming out of Clearview is at 128.6 or so volts. Now, 128 volts is powering, and keep in mind that's not really accurate, because we're able to get more potential out of this. Each one of these represents 60 volts. So just these two neons alone lighting is supposed to be around 120 volts. And then we're still getting each one of these LEDs to turn on. And these are also on. These are infrared, so you don't see them. But we're getting a lot more than what we're inputting. So these are all steady readings now. Everything's wired, soldered, and connected securely. So this is very replicatable. And some of you might be asking why the crystal's there. I just have that to try to charge up that crystal a little bit. And we have the cube octahedron here, making things exciting. But that's pretty much it. Everything is working as planned, and it's doing everything that it was supposed to be doing and more. So we're getting a nice energy output for a very small input. This is over unity, free energy, ether energy, whatever it is that you want to call it, but it's working, and I guess it's just time to expand on it.
So you were asking earlier about the frequency for plants, right? This
Yes.
is out of contact. He's obviously
Yeah.
growing a plant.
Yeah, he's got it at 36 kilohertz, and he said it's a little bit lower. So it's a lower frequency than he's usually using. So I might be really, really low in my frequency range, too low for the Nunez method, which is what I thought.
Oh, there
I
you
just
go.
need to kick it up a notch. Yeah.
Answers a lot of questions. Right? Subscribe to that guy, man, and find out what he's got.
Yeah, for sure.
And he used crystal in there. I'd love to see that video. I'm going to have to go back and research that, because anytime someone adds a crystal, I got to see what they're doing. It's just something, it amazes me.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. I wonder what the significance of this shape is too. Do you know? Any idea?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Gerald says he's waiting for a knock at the door. He made another breakthrough. That's great.
Well,
I love to hear that
I love to hear that people are making breakthroughs instead of having, being stuck.
Well, check it out. Let me boggle your mind for a little bit. If
Sure.
you took the big coil, right?
Mhm.
You put a smaller one inside of it, and then a smaller one inside of it, just like a Russian nesting doll.
Yeah.
What happens? So, just like Gerald's doing, he's using the geometry there, but he's also using coils stacked. So, can you get a higher amount of energy based on those? So, it'd be interesting to
a
find
higher
out
order.
that.
A higher order. So that's exactly what Jordan from Alchemical Science is doing with his nested coil frame too. It's going to be hard to wind, but eventually I want to try it. And I guess you just explained it to me. I was wondering the same thing, like what is the point behind a nested coil frame? But that seems to explain it.
Well, if you just build it right, I mean, we're just talking about adding a few little adapters from one to the next, and making sure the sides come out. So every time you wrap it, you wrap the inside one, then you wrap, put in the little adapters, then wrap the next one. It works out.
I wonder if that would be considered a fractal.
Fractal geometry?
Yeah.
It might be depending on the angle. I mean, you got multiple angles of energy going, so I don't know that it quite gets down to the level small enough for it, but it could produce a general one.
Well, this is really cool. I might have seen this a long time ago, but I don't think I've seen this full video for sure. I think I seen like a clip of this on their Instagram a while ago.
I'll put it back up
Support
there.
and blessings. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, feel free to post, write me a message, and spread the word that free energy is here using Abha rodent coils. Take care. Blessings.
Incredible.
I'll take that down now. So yeah, definitely got something more to look into now on your side, man. And what you're researching.
This is definitely giving me a lot to consider for sure. I'm also really excited about Jordan's coil guide. I wonder when that's going to come out. I might email him and see if we can get an update on that, because I'm really interested in to hear what his guide has to say about the rodent coil, because I think he's been studying this, like, I assume a lot longer than I have, and he knows the math of vortex math way better than I do. He's actually a mathematician. I'm just a I'm just a nobody.
Don't say that. Hey guys, just so you know, on my channel, I'm sure on Benefactor's channel, I will link everything in the description for you guys for the videos that we watched today. That way you can check them out.
Yeah, and for everybody watching my channel, go ahead and subscribe to Old Man Builds. He has some great videos. He's working on the Graviflyer, something that I didn't even know existed until I met Nathan. So I'm very fascinated. Do you have any updates on that, by the way?
Yeah, we're looking to add more power. That's
nice.
That's what it is. So basically, here's the thing. I got the harmonics on the center plate. I have the octave right on the center plate. I have the actual frequencies where they pitch correct. I now can take everything and put it into the piezo buzzer, and I can override the piezo buzzer from going off all the time to actually stopping and not doing anything, which is significant in that now when I push the button, it goes in the megahertz frequencies. So now we're getting somewhere, and it's the frequency of the craft itself. And the fields on the thing are set. I've got them mastered. I got them at the right thing. The only thing I didn't have is every time I started to push the button on my gravity flyer for the ultrasound, get the piezo to switch, I was having my Tesla coil blow up. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's going to happen. It's a Slayer Exciter circuit. It's a weak circuit for what I'm doing. I have a CVS circuit that I'm working on with Sean, and we're going back and forth to collaborate on this. This is one tough circuit, man. I blasted this thing with 80 volts, and I couldn't get the thing to blow up. And I had so much feedback. Like, you can hear this thing buzzing like crazy, right? It's a number one coil that was buzzing because I wasn't oscillating. So I did that. I didn't blow anything up, man. I cranked it up over 100, still didn't blow up the ZVS. This thing's a monster as far as allowing me to push energy back to it. Here's the key thing, though, to it. I'm just going to add a simple light switch to it to go from one power source to the next. So if you know everything about AC power, basically you have a hot, you have a neutral, and you have a ground. And on your switch, it switches in between the black wires in order to make the break. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this thing up to have power on one side and power on the other. So as I flip it back and forth, it'll go in between two different power sources. So now I'm going to hit this thing right at about 50 to 60 volts when I bring up my power. It'll start around 12, make sure it's in resonance, bring it up, okay? Then I'm going to hit it in a second or less with 20 volts more. What I'm looking to do is get that jump. So once the fields build around between the top plate and the bottom plate in this thing, just like this, it starts out here, right? I can't move my hand all that well on the right side. It's all swollen.
Mhm.
Sorry. I move it out and then I bring it and then it'll go like this. And that's why it takes the time to get there. And that's why you get the different measurements so that it can go like this. And then it's sitting around it, directly around it. So why do you get the more energy that blows things out? Is because it goes like this and it pops. It pops that energy, right? So
like a resonance cascade.
yeah, so it's pushing that EM field out. So it will blow out your computer if you're not careful. So that's how he's lifting it. And he identifies it by saying the sound that he's hearing in his Tesla coil is feedback.
So that's how you know.
That's how I know. So
that's how you know.
I got the feedback in the sound when I tried to blow up my ZVS to see how far it'd go.
And you said this thing can take a massive amount of power too, right? That's no.
That's not massive. If you consider he comes from 220 volts in Europe, right? And then he's got to step down. So no matter what he's doing at that point, it's not a lot of power.
Oh, so he's stepping down the voltage.
So he's stepping down the voltage and he gets it to those levels. Now,
but you say you have to start it out at a certain point to get stable and then expand it.
Because I'm using a ZVS circuit instead of a different circuit. I'm using a more stable circuit than what he's got. So anyway,
theoretically, your system is going to be when it operates, it's going to operate a little bit better.
Yes, I'm going to be able to control when I want it to go, not when it tells me it wants to go.
Nice.
That's the difference. I'm going to choose the point. So when everything starts to line up, I'm going to choose it and then hit it right when it does, and boom, we're going to explode this thing.
Nice. I can't wait to see that. This is exciting.
We
Hey,
got
Brendan,
Gerald here.
Gerald's here. Hey, what's up, Gerald?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
we
I
got
can
you.
hear you.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, it really sucked on Saturday. I was kind of ticked off myself. It was nobody's fault. It just happened. But
nah, it happens, dude. Don't worry about it.
You know what? Honestly, I think it was my fault. I pulled a dumb move. Well, I pulled two dumb moves. Okay. Usually I back my stuff up all the time, but I was in a hurry and I was rushing that day. I wasn't thinking anything of it. Didn't back it up. And the second dumb move, I think I wiped it out myself somehow.
Oh boy. Hey, I've done that too. You know, you're in a hurry or you're feeling some kind of anxiety because you're about to give a big presentation and you know, you make mistakes.
That's okay though. I have all my notes and I have my editing file, so putting them back together won't be a issue. But now on Sunday, I was doing some experiments and I had another breakthrough, and that actually completes my work. So
really?
Yes, it completes my theory when it comes to the pyramids and how they work and operate.
Oh, nice. I can't wait to hear about that.
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into it because I'm going to make it part of the presentation, right?
Oh, come on. You talk about pyramids. You got a little bit?
Okay, so I'll give you my theory on the pyramids. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
Sure.
I'll take
Except for the last little bit that I'm still working out the details on, but I can give you a pretty good general. So the pyramids are built on top of an aquifer, and that aquifer is made out of a piezoelectric crystal. So when the pyramids were in their glory days, the River Nile was really close to the front. And when the moon waxed and waned, the water would, of course, recede and come back in, right, with the tides. So when the water would come back in, it would fill up the aquifer and put pressure on that piezoelectric crystal, causing tons of voltage release. Wow. And because of the way that the pyramid is built, it's a big, giant capacitor, okay? And when the water would come up and that voltage would fly upwards, it would go up. Pardon me for gapping a little bit of details in this, because like I said, I'm working out some things and I recently had to switch something. So, but the voltage comes up, it gets contained within the whole pyramid itself because the pyramid is encased with a ceramic insulative stone. The granite being part piezoelectric and it rings with sound, all that voltage causes the water to break. So now you got hydrogen and oxygen. There's two shafts that go up at certain angles. And if you look at where those angles are and where they're placed, and they come right up out of the side of the pyramid, one of them would be a hydrogen tube and the other would be oxygen. And I say that because hydrogen and oxygen, when they break and separate, one raises higher than the other. It releases.
Oh, so one is denser than the other.
Yeah. So I'm not using the right term, but you know what I mean? As if one's, so one's lighter than the other. It moves faster than the other. So the chamber or that tube is actually a little lower than the other one on the other side. So
do you have any ideas what the king's chamber could be? Could that possibly be a resonance chamber?
It was a sound chamber. So
resonance chamber.
Yeah, when all that started to happen, you got to think when voltage breaks water, there's sound and it starts to echo, right? And that echo would vibrate the king's chamber. And because of the way that it's built, there's like different tones that go throughout the whole pyramid, pushing that energy all the way up. Now, there's a couple more details that have to be added. But as far as I'm aware, because of the way that the pyramid worked, the whole base around the pyramid, there was temples that were built in front of the pyramid, behind the pyramid. And these are what the Egyptian priests used. And they had an ankh that would sit hanging on their waist. And everybody thought it was a religious item. Well, perhaps it was, but it had a lot more significance than that. So these temples,
technology?
Yes, it was. It was actually a tuning fork. But it was a special tuning fork.
Oh man.
Okay? So these chambers or these temples that were at the base of the pyramid, they had 2 rooms in it. And let's say, they referred to them as slaves. I don't think they were slaves. I think they had incentive and actually got paid. But we won't even go there. That's just a thought. So one of the slaves, let's say, broke his arm. He'd come to the priest. The priest would go, okay. He'd look at his charts. He'd go, you have to come back at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Because the temple that he would bring them to had slits all around the very top of the temple so that the sun could come in at whatever angle at that time of day was needed. So at 2 o'clock, the person would come in. He would sit in the bigger room that was an echo chamber. The priest would go in the smaller room behind him, and there was a square that went between both rooms. That's where he put the ankh in. And he would smack that sucker, and it would vibrate throughout that room. The light coming in would come down at a certain angle, hitting the person who sat on that seat, and would give them the frequency of light, sound. And here's the beautiful part. Because the pyramid would cause the area all around it to have a negative energy because of the way that it would separate the whole environment, those people that were sitting in that chair would get enveloped with energy, vibration, like energy, which is vibration, light, and sound. And what would that do? A broken arm takes about 6 weeks. When the priest was done with him and he left, 3 days later, he'd be back to work.
Wow. So do you think this is like using the aether energy?
I think it's both. What I think it is that we have a superhuman healing ability that is within our genetic code, within our bodies. And I think it could be activated in times of, say, real massive distress. Like, you know how you hear stories of wives who have picked up a car because the jack fell and it fell on their husband. And they're not
wondering about that,
right? Well, their adrenaline kicks in. But you got to understand, their adrenaline pumping all that weight and picking it up at the same time, they would tear their muscles right off their bones. So what actually happens in all of that? I'm not sure during, but in the after parts, I believe that our superhuman healing ability has been activated because of that huge amount of endorphins, adrenaline, and energy that got passed through that person at that point. and they're healing faster than we'd even know they were hurt.
Wow.
So-
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, it goes back to some of the temples when you see the people inside the little bell shapes on the top of the temples.
Yeah.
And they're healing. It's the same thing. So one other thing at the bottom of the pyramid is the water goes up and it hits the top right there. And when it does that, you're going to get a pulse wave inside that whole pyramid as well. Now,
Absolutely.
the granite itself contains water. So it sucks it up like a candle wick into the
Yep.
granite.
Yep.
And when it rains out there, there's going to be fluoride in it. The fluoride itself actually makes the quartz in there be able to be more conductive.
Really? That
Yeah.
part I didn't know. Thank you
Yeah.
for that tip.
You see the little barrier around the bottom where they had the water thing that would go up in there?
Yep.
Rainwater.
Okay, well, the other part of one of the things that I can actually just bring it up because it still has to be proved and shown on video. And then you guys, once I've done my presentation, we're going to work out with a whole bunch of you to confirm or debunk my tech and everything I've learned because I'm going to put a package together. I have 38 coils built now. I'm going to be building a few more, but there's more to add to that package. There's like tests that I've done, experiments. I have 11 folders of notes, right? So I'm working on how everybody can get sort of where I've been working and how I got to where I am now. And then you can either confirm it or debunk it.
Right, to replicate your experiments.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's great. I love it. I'm
if I don't want it done by universities, I'll tell you that right now. I mean, I'll do.
Well, I mean, if you're willing to send me one, I'll definitely do it.
Yeah,
definitely.
We'll work all that out. I mean, Nathan, there's Jeremiah, there's Jeremy, there's David Chester. There's a big group of people that are on the list, right? So I'd love to be debunked or confirmed, but I go debunked first because hey, man, that's the best. That's the best way of confirming someone if they're right. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I'll tell you right now, you're not getting debunked. I know too much about this to say that.
Well,
sure.
You know what, Nathan? I got something to tell. I got a story to tell you that I've only told to Jeremiah, and I'm not sure if I should tell it online.
It's up to you, man. But
Has to do it. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to tell you one last thing.
Yeah.
When you see the Tesla experiments in Colorado, right? And he's energizing the ground itself.
Oh, yeah, that was the other part with water. Okay, go ahead.
Now, put that into Egypt. And it was said that back in the day, Egypt was really green.
Yes.
So I have a question.
I'm hopping out of my seat. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nathan.
I was going to say, just like the rod and coil builds, can do the energy in the earth to grow things faster. Do you think, okay, my opinion is yes, but do you think that they were using this thing as well in order to take a desert and transform it into something green over a bigger area with the aquifers in the area?
Terraforming.
Boom! That's like huge. Dude, that's part of the research that I came across, right? And on Sunday, I proved something to myself that that's why it's got to be part of the research. Okay, so what you're saying is absolutely true. Now, remember what we said about the water in the River Nile going up and down, right? Well, when charge separation happens, where does your ground go? Well, I figured out how to use water as ground, and distance is not thus far becoming a problem. Now, if you look at the way that the pyramids are built and how large they are, and how the grounding system would work through the River Nile, all those plants in all of the desert under that aquifer would be negatively charged. And because the pyramids have positively charged the whole area, you're talking those plants are thriving, striving, and just reaching for it. So yeah, I absolutely believe that when the pyramid was running, it was responsible for the River Nile being gorgeous, like clean as you can imagine. And I believe that the desert was like the Garden of Eden because of it. I'm not saying it
Wow.
was the garden. I'm saying it was like it.
This is
Well,
a
check-
fascinating theory.
Check this out. MIT did a study where you could separate salt from water as well. So to have clean drinking water and clear growing water, they're going to need to know that as well. So this could also separate some of that salt that was in the water. We see it naturally when you get into the caves in the earth where all the salt is compiled. There's a process going on in there where it's removing salt from the water and putting it all in one spot, and the fresh water comes above it.
Absolutely. See, this is all coming together, man. I'm telling
Yeah,
you. I'm
there's
blowing.
there's a lot to unpack here with that pyramid theory. I have
Yeah,
a couple
there's a lot
questions,
more
if you don't
detail.
mind.
I'm sorry to cut you off there.
Oh no, you're fine. Yeah, I just have a couple of questions if you don't mind.
Well, that's no problem. I was just going to say there's a lot more details that I have in my theory. You kind of caught me off guard, and I'm really excited to kind of get it out because this was the last piece of the puzzle I needed. But I'll go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I can tell you're excited. I'm excited. It's a very interesting theory, and I'd love to hear more. Regarding the pyramid shape, or the pyramids, is it just the shape itself that is enabled the charge separation to happen?
No,
It's all
of the above. It's a dynamic.
All of the above.
Yeah, you couldn't have one or two or three benefits in the system and have it all work. You have to have everything working together like a clock, right? Every gear, it all has to click. But once you turn it on, it's pretty much indestructible and could run forever.
So I got a question for you, a little bit of theory.
Yep.
Terrence Howard came out with that shape, right? And we look at the pyramid, we understand that it has 8 sides, not 4.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, the concave.
Yeah, so let's ask the question. Was he partially right in the shape of it because he gave his shapes that same number?
I would say partially right, but Terrence Howard unfortunately pulls from too much different information that doesn't connect. Right. He tries to connect it in a way where it's like, I don't know how to put that without insulting him, and I don't want to because I think he's smart. I think he's onto something. I just think that he's pushing too far as to connecting everything all into his theory.
He doesn't explain how he gets from one side to the other without the connection. That's a big missing point, right?
Yeah, it's like the missing link between
my red flag with Terrence Howard.
My
red flag with Terrence Howard is he describes vortex math without saying it's vortex math or giving any kind of indication what it is other than his, own theory.
I think Terrence Howard's a lot like a lot of us were in the beginning. We got
You think he's just ignorant? He doesn't know about vortex math, and this is just like him coming up with something.
I think he came up with something and he ran with it, and he stuck himself in an echo chamber because he was too worried somebody was.
Yeah, but you see, it's interesting. You see that a lot, like different independent people coming up with the same idea in kind of like a wave.
Well, now, okay, that also is part of one of the things I've been working on. Man, you just it goes to my theory. It's mind blowing. Okay, so as people start to come up with the ideas that connect all this tech together, it's more and more people that come up with it independently in different parts of the world. Kind of like the 100 monkey experiment, where that one monkey learned how to wash his hands, and then they took him out of the pen, and the other ones automatically learned how to wash their hands without watching the first monkey.
Wow.
So it's kind of like I don't know if it's a psychological thing. I don't believe so. I believe it's through spirit. We're all connected. We're all searching for the truth. And ultimately what it comes down to is there's only one line that reaches one point. And that truth all the way along the line is how we've all been connecting. Like you get a piece and Nathan
100%.
And we're all kind of talking about it. And then it's like, wow, you know what? This actually, it works out when we put it together. But individually,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I think it's one of those things that we're all alive with energy around the world, right?
Mhm.
And the universe and everything. If we one tap into it, then everybody else can tap into it too. But when we spark it between each other, it comes up like a memory in our mind, and we're able to
Yeah.
expand it. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Oh, that's fascinating, guys.
Because when I know when I get the understanding of something, it doesn't just come in just a little bit. It becomes real clear within a day or two. I
Yeah.
have every little aspect of this worked out.
Awesome. That's awesome. There's more to the whole pyramids and why they work and how they work, and like,
I just have a couple more questions with that, if you don't mind.
go ahead.
I'm really like, because I did a segment on my own theories of the pyramids in Divine. I don't know if you've seen Divine Science, the episode 1 I put out, but it kind of goes into something similar, where
Well, shape, the geometry of it is definitely important, and the
Right.
size of it is important. If you look at the length, like how tall it is, I think it's from what we see, I believe it's like 700 feet or something. Don't quote me on that. I could be completely off on that one.
Well, my question is, do you think bubble cavitation could be happening, or like
Yes,
a
right at
nuclear
the peak.
collapse?
Right
Yeah.
at the peak. Okay, so right at the top of the pyramid, when the they had the oh my gosh, brain fart. I'm sorry. It's like the apex stone. Okay, so when they had that on there, it's like a focal point, like a focusing lens, and it would create a beam that went straight up. Without having it there, it actually creates a sphere of energy right at the top of it. And that was proven in 1913, I think, or it might have been 19.
Yeah, Joe Parr also did experiments regarding the top of the pyramid, didn't he?
Is that the gentleman with the wine bottle and the aluminum foil?
No. Joe
No,
Parr
I
was
don't know.
on the Ancient Aliens, and he did a thing where he made a pyramid of his own, and then underneath it, he put it in rotational magnets or whatever they call it.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah,
that's
centrifuge.
the one.
Yeah.
Centrifuge. There you go.
Wes. I'm trying to think of his name now. Wes. I'm brain farting tonight. I apologize, gentlemen, but
No, it's okay.
there was a guy back in the late 70s, early 80s that built a 40-foot pyramid out of 2x4s, and he had a big copper coil that was wrapped on the ground, and he had a copper coil that was at the apex on the inside of the pyramid, and he attached the two together with a piece of sheep's wool, and it gave him such a shock it threw him 30 feet.
Oh wow.
Woke up like 5 minutes later, and his arm hurt and everything hurt. And there was a burn in his hand.
And there was a what in his hand?
A burn in his hand.
Oh,
So
wow.
I believe, and this goes to what I was saying earlier about the shape and the size and what's going on with the pyramid, is because it was so high up, every time the earth turns, whether we see it or not, when a pyramid or a tower or a radio tower or anything like that is up in the air and insulated in a very specific way, when you ground that out, all that static flows down like a freight train.
Oh, so it's channeling the ions from the atmosphere.
Exactly. And if you
Wow.
can that flow, you have energy forever. It was the principle that the Wardenclyffe Tower is built on.
And that
Okay,
was
the water.
that was part of my theory in Divine Science. Is, it was using some kind of chamber to channel the ionized air in the atmosphere that naturally just occurs.
Remember, electricity flows two ways at all times. You may not see it, you may not know it, but it flows two ways at all times. And
That's fascinating.
if you could capture one of those ways as the other one's flowing, it doesn't even affect the flow, and you have power forever.
So let me throw you in another curveball. You have to put metal at the top of the pyramid, no matter what you do.
Yes, something very
Like
conductive.
electrum.
Because the top, if you see the earth in the top as the positive and the ground as the negative, it'll have to have somewhere to flow. So that's why it has to be electrically connected. That's why grounding rods work on the top of towers.
Absolutely. But now I have a theory about towers, probably get me in trouble. Have you ever, or even high voltage power lines? Okay, so I did an experiment a couple of years ago. Take 2 poles, go up 20 feet, then take a line of copper, go. It's pretty hard to do. I went 40 feet. Guys say you have to go about 65. It worked for me. I didn't get a lot, but it kind of freaked me out because it worked. You go 40 feet from pole to pole, and the copper wire, I strung it as tight as I could, but they were insulated from the pole. Then I grounded it out through one of my coils and then into a battery. And that battery was charged so fast, I thought it was going to explode.
You know why?
Why is that?
Energy lines are based on what you get out of a generator, not what is AC or DC. So
Yes.
when you get it out of a generator, it flows over things, not through them. Therefore, it chases a small bit of amp through that wire, just enough, kind of like the tortoise and the hare. You know what I mean? It
Yep.
pulls it, and then it goes and flows around that wire the whole time. Anytime a bird gets on it, goes over it because it's part of the wire at that point. That's the way the electricity sees it.
Yep.
So they put anti-sway mechanisms on the high voltage lines because that energy, if it's pushed back and forth, will flow out and out and out. And that's what you're getting.
Absolutely.
So, hey, I got another question for you, Joe. All right. So you know what's going on with the pyramid, right?
I believe I do, yeah. I could be wrong, but I believe I do.
So the question is it, if you put pyramids around the whole planet, is it terraforming?
I believe it's stabilizing our electromagnetic field, and I believe that's what initiated our first electromagnetic field that's now failing to some degree.
So it makes it stronger.
I think it reinforces it. Yeah, absolutely.
So it could have. So here's the thing that I'm thinking. Okay, it will actually make it stronger or weaker, and then the moon itself, where the moon is, would make it stronger or weaker too. You know what I mean? Because the tidal force inside of it gives the energy to the planet.
Absolutely.
So,
and did you go ahead?
So if you're on Mars and you got 2 moons that are like asteroids, all you have to do is compile them together and make a bigger moon. Then the tidal forces will bring in the energy to bring out the magnetosphere.
That's definitely possible. Did you hear about the experiment? I'm not sure who did it, but when I think it was NASA, and they messed up on one of their satellites or one of their rovers or whatever, and it hit the moon, and the moon
Ring like a bell.
reverberated, like it echoed,
Like it was hollow.
like it was hollow. So it makes one wonder. I mean, is that part of the mechanism that our planet's field actually gets renewed through vibration that we're not aware of? I mean, I don't know.
It's all resonance. We talked about this earlier. It's resonance.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm telling you, the resonance chamber at the center of our Earth. It's not a big ball of magma.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was just talking about that earlier.
I believe that.
Check this out. So you say it rings hollow, right?
Yeah.
And if it's all in crystalline form on the inside, which they say that everywhere you go on the moon, they find crystals, right? One of the easiest things to set up in space is to build crystals. So when you go out there, it's microwaves that build them. So if he sat right over the top of the Earth and we wanted to grow crystals all day, we could, right?
Okay.
So it's pretty easy to build them in space. What I'm saying is maybe, just maybe, and you have to see some things in an expansive way here, there would be a planet right after Mars, but before Jupiter, that's in the asteroid belt, it could be a small planet, but if it has a hollow center and we captured that as the moon, it would have been there. So the reason I think it's a capture is this. We had, like, billions of years ago on this Earth, we had the actual oceans come up to the surface and then up into mountain ranges, and they were on the ocean floor at that time. So when you capture something, what you're going to find is a hook that goes around and partial, then it'll stop. And then on another side, you'll find the same thing that'll happen as it gets into the right area to settle into where it's at. So I truly think that we captured this moon and it was something else before we got it.
That's possible. You hear about, if you look at the electric universe and their theory on how certain things were thousands of years ago, with the way that Venus and Mars and everything lined up and we'd see it in the sky, makes one wonder, all it would take is something to shift everything out of play. And then, like you said, who knows, maybe one asteroid belt hit part of a planet and that knocked it out of its own gravity field. And that's how we captured it. I really don't know. I don't look into astromechanics very much, but that's an interesting theory.
They have a story on it in cuneiform.
Oh,
so, yeah. So they have a translation. I'll find the video for you, but they translate it as there was another planet there, and Mars was livable at that time.
I believe it was livable once. Yeah. Otherwise, they wouldn't be trying so hard to get back to it.
Yeah, you never know how this all works, man. We all could have been.
You're not wrong. I believe our history isn't. Sorry, I believe what we're taught in our history isn't completely true. I think, things have been embellished and other things have been left out. I don't know how much is true and how much isn't, because frankly, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But there's
also a lot of cognitive dissonance too.
Yeah.
It's their best guess, man. That's all it is.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, they can't tell you any different than that. I mean, they can't prove a bit of what they're saying.
And especially when you have an entire system of academia based on, people's reputations that are maintained by the status quo. Don't rock the status quo. You're going to ruin my reputation.
Well, see, now there's the other part. The last APEC, I wish I had been on, because here's the weird part, actually. I've got the paper sitting like right here. I was going to talk about Albert Einstein, and I was going to talk about Henry Poincaré and how it all came about and the controversy around it. But the guy on APEC already did. And the thing that I found funny was everybody went kind of quiet there, because their papers and their work and their studies and 90% of academia is based on what Albert Einstein's E = mc squared calculation is. Well, there's a lot more than that, but it's a key component. Well, the funny thing is Henry Poincaré came up with it, I think, 10 years prior, before Einstein. So it's very interesting how that.
It makes me wonder if Albert Einstein, and this is just a crackpot theory. It wasn't even a theory; it's just an idea that ran through my head one day. What if Einstein was a disinformation candidate? Designed, whether he knew it or not, to discredit the ether or push us away from that.
Maybe, but he was really intelligent on his own. I think it was more like he was working in the patent office. Henri Poincaré went to patent it. He looked at it, went to promote him, and realized, you know what? They don't know who this guy is. I can in here and just promote it for him.
So he was the OG patent shark.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
It's just a thought, like you said. It's the move.
It's interesting to think about.
Let's explain the ether real quick, just so you guys all understand this, okay? You're probably on the same page as I am. Even if you have a spinning ball of magnet at the center, it is still a rotating magnet. Therefore, spheres of energy will go around it tight, then away from it, then away from it, and then away from it at different strengths, right?
Yep.
You cannot get away from that. So no matter how they want to quantify the ether, it's still there because
Right.
there's energy in each sphere and each one is different. So they can't deny it because it's there. Even in their simple proof of there's magma in the center or nickel, whatever they want to say it is, it still produces energy in that way. So you still have it, and you still have a divider at the equator that doesn't make sense in everything until you start seeing energy flow as two toroidals.
I agree. There was a video that got put out a couple weeks ago. Like, I'll have to find it for you, but the Morley experiment, Morley Melt.
Michelson Morley, yeah.
Thank you very much. That experiment, he took the experiment and he turned it vertical, and it proves that the ether is real. But the
Wow.
way that they did the experiment was wrong, for one, and for two, their interpretation was incorrect. Now, that's me stating that big, bold statement. I agree. But
Right.
lots of people know this, but they keep it secret, and it's a lot of people in academia. Well, they don't keep it secret. It's not a conspiracy. They just don't talk about it. The ether, that was just banished, and it was replaced with the quantum vacuum. And they all know that. They believe in the ether. They're just trying to figure it out. They called it a different name because they don't want anybody else looking at the ether.
Explain to me the difference, though. What is the quantum vacuum in mainstream physics?
Oh, man, I would have to be like,
There's no simple way to explain.
to be a David Tester to do that. You know what I mean? And then to bring
No,
it
it's okay.
from his terms to layman's terms, I don't know. but yeah, because I don't even think that Richard Feynman knew what the quantum vacuum was.
So,
That's
and
why
that's another issue, though, is like the explanations of the universe should be simple, right? They shouldn't be overly complex.
Yeah,
I think
well,
humans have a tendency to overly complicate things.
I agree. You know the KISS theory, keep it simple.
Yeah,
But they don't do that, right? It's as complicated as it can get with muons and euons and buons and gluons. I don't know. I'm not,
tachyons and
yeah, I don't go with the whole terminology and play that sort of game. I mean, if that's what floats their boat, all power to them. It ain't gonna make no lick of difference if I flick a switch on and the light doesn't go on. They did something wrong.
yeah.
And if I go and make a system and flick a switch on, they can call it whatever they want. They can deny it whatever they want. As long as the light turns on, none of that matters.
Well, like Ken Wheeler likes to say, they're describing something, but they're not defining it. You know, they're not explaining it.
Well, they're
You know
not
what I
telling
mean?
you how to do it either.
Yeah.
Right? They keep that part close to the chest, which to some degree I understand. Like for me, I want to release the tech for free. But like the plants. But I also want to be a person who builds a company selling devices based on that tech. But I'll give the tech away for free because then you might want to go build it. But there's 1,000 people out there that don't know how, and there's 10,000 people that don't want to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And like I always say, the science belongs to everybody, but if you can market it, you know, more power to you. Because in this economy, money is power, and not a lot of people have money.
You know what? Let me share something funny with you guys. Even if we got cars that are based on water, right?
Yeah.
Don't ever think that you're going to pull up to the ocean and get the water. Okay?
Yeah.
It's going to be shipped to a place. They're going to filter the water. They're going to change it, and they're going to say it has so much more benefits to it, just like they do in California. And they're going to put it right back in the gas pump and tell you to buy it that way. And then they're going to find the living daylights out of you if they even see you sipping a puddle for that water.
You're not wrong. At least they're going to try anyway. See, where is it that I wonder when it stopped, when the governments, when the people had to start listening to governments rather than the governments listening to the people. When did that change, I wonder? Because I'll tell you, I know of 3 people alone that built free energy devices, And yeah, they disappeared, but it wasn't by some guy in a suit. No, they went and bought a cottage and they've been living for free for the last 30 years.
Yeah,
So,
they don't want to be bothered.
exactly, because they know if they patent it or sell it or release it, some guy in a suit's going to come along because his money or his bank account's going to dwindle because he ain't
But
getting
if But if your ultimate goal isn't to be super rich and you just want to be self-sufficient, that's all you need. You know what I mean? You don't need to market or Yeah, you just need the device and go out, live off the grid. That's what I'd like to do, to be honest.
I'll be completely honest with everybody. I want to be half rich. And then I want to take all that money and I want to build orphanages. I want to build rehab centers. I want to build
commendable
housing, and all because the energy will be free to do all that. Not only that, helping people in rehab with these kind of vibrations and certain
natural
healing.
Instead of pills and
exactly. Like we could do a lot of good for a lot of people that need it.
For sure.
And when I was mentioning earlier, sure, I want to be one of the people that sells devices to people. When this tech is fully understood, there will be so many devices built on this that,
and you know what?
It'll be insane. And I can't. I only want to build one or two. I mean, hey.
and when that happens, I want to emphasize. So when this happens, and it will happen, because you can't put the cat back in the bag. The cat's out of the bag now with all these devices coming out and all the celebrities actually catching on to them. No. So when that happens, since the energy is free, the cost of manufacturing is going to be negligent. So that means devices that you want to sell are going to be very cheap, and you're still going to make a decent profit.
You know what, guys? I have no interest in doing any of that. Simply going to build stuff, let people see it, and then I'll just tour the country and talk about it.
Yeah, no, well,
I'll make my little fortune, set up my family, and do my own thing and my own research.
The
and
reason
let them
why
present it if they want to.
The reason why I started Beneficence TV isn't to make money either. It's to spread a message. So, that's my ultimate goal. I don't want to make money. I just want to help spread the message of these devices and the forbidden science behind them, So I'm right there with you, Nate.
I'm working on something that's big. Do you want to be my United States connection and you can tour the States just showing it off?
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be awesome.
You'd have to come to the border to pick it up, though, because it has to be pulled by a vehicle.
Hey, check this out. It'll give every one of those mathematicians something to quantify.
Oh,
yeah.
Now they're not quantifying some other theory of another paper. Now they're quantifying a real device. Now it's time to do the work.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, well, I'm down. I don't know about you, but I'm down.
Yeah, like I said, I want to get this out to everybody. But before I go big like that, I have to have it debunked. Sort of thing, right?
Right,
yeah.
Exactly.
Otherwise, I put that much money into building a big system that could be toured and then,
But like Nathan said, I have fun building these things, and I'm not as informed as you guys, but I'd still like to learn and build more devices like this for sure.
Well, if you want to start going into the avenue, I did a good person to start with as a gentleman by the name of Mike Powers.
Mike Powers
he builds a Star Chalice coil, and there's another type of coil. It's a vortex coil. I started out with Rodin. Well, that's not entirely true. I started out with Bedini, and then I found Rodin. I looked at his math for a while. I didn't agree with it, and then I have an issue with his beliefs and how he found it, and that's just my personal opinion. I won't.
Who, Marco Rodin?
Yeah. I don't agree with Marco Rodin's math or his system of belief. But
I'm not gonna lie, that the origins of VBM is very controversial.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And hey, if I'm wrong, then I'll be corrected somewhere along the way, and I'll apologize. But
there's no shame in having your own beliefs and opinions and theories.
Yeah, I'm not harping on them. I just don't agree with it, so I kind of stay away from the Rodin situation, right? And upon looking at
But it's actually refreshing to see somebody who actually has such an amazing device, and they do have a new take on things, you know. So that's also refreshing to see for me.
Gerald, I got a question for you. You said a while back, and I haven't been able to get with you. What did you have on the gravity flyer? Was there something interesting you had going on in your coil that you wanted to share that matched what I was doing?
Well, that's the story that I told Jeremiah. I haven't told anyone else.
Oh, come on now.
All right.
I knew there was something good.
Okay, I'll tell you what. This may get. I don't even know if I should do this, but I'm gonna. So take it not with a grain of salt. Take it with a freaking truckload of it. Okay. So that being said, I'm going to tell you something that happened to me that almost killed me, freaked me right out, and made me put the tech down for 3 years. So the big coil that you see, it didn't always have resin over it. It wasn't always a solid resin coil. At one point, it was just open air copper like a bunch of my other coils.
Okay.
I had to put it in resin because I was putting like 10 volts in it and I was getting breakout.
Oh.
Yeah. So I wanted to save it because it was it did some very unique things. So you know those plasma globes that you can buy at Walmart or online, Amazon, whatever? They were based on Tesla's little, you put your hand on it and the streamers hit your fingers.
Yeah.
Oh, plasma balls.
Plasma balls, right? So I had broken one at one point and I thought, you know what? I want to try this. I'm going to put this through my coil. Let's see what high voltage does. So I put it on a table. I raised it 6 inches above the table with this little rack. And underneath it, I put an aluminum, what would you call it? It's like the base pan for a record player, and it was an aluminum plate. Okay. So I put that underneath the rack, and I got the coil on the rack, and I took the plasma balls high voltage output, and I put it to the input of the primary, and then the output of the primary, I ran a line about 10 feet away from it, and I attached it to my hot water radiators because I was using that for a ground, right? Because, of course, you got the positive. You can't run it back to the coil, right? So I had that set up, and then in the secondary, I had a 3 kV capacitor in there. So I turn this on, and nothing's happening. I'm not getting any sparks. I'm not getting any glow, nothing. And I'm like, okay, something's wrong. So I shut it off, look at all the wiring. I'm like, everything looks right. Turn it back on. Nothing. Nothing's happening. I wait a few minutes just to see what's going on, right? Again, nothing. I'm like boggled. So I shut it off. I walk away and I'm like, well, you know what? It holds capacitance all on its own just because of the way it's built. So maybe it has to build up capacitance. So I turn it back on for the third time, and nothing's happening, and I'm getting frustrated. So I go to move a wire, and I bump something on the table, and the whole kit and caboodle starts to come off of it. I don't know what fell, but it made a loud bang, and the coil jumped up 6 feet in the air. And out of reflexes, because I've been in martial arts since I was like 10 years old. Out of reflexes, my arm went out and I caught the thing in my hand. And the sound, I was frozen. Okay, I couldn't move any muscle in my body. And the sound that went through me, it felt like it went through every cell. And it was like, and it vibrated everything. And it felt like the whole room was shaking. Wow. And then I dropped the coil. And I went upstairs and I told my wife, I was like, I just got electrocuted. And she sat me down, and apparently I just shook there for an hour because I was kind of out of it. My brain had to recalibrate, I guess.
Yeah, I'd reset it though.
The fact that it jumped up And then when Nathan was explaining how the gravifier works and how the charge separation works, now you have to build up capacitance and turn your high voltage off and on and off and on. And all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you get that sonic pump and it jumps. Well, guess what? When that, whatever fell off the table made that bang, that was the trigger.
That's crazy. No, and I don't know if this has anything to do with the Searle effect generator either, but John Searle reported the same thing when he turned his Searle generator on for the first time. It kind of flew up.
It's all about vortexes and capacitance. That's what it's about. And I believe that the gravifier creates a vortex, but it has to build up capacitance in a high voltage way so that when it releases and it gets that hop off the ground, it's able to sustain itself. Kind of like when the pyramid starts and it ionizes the whole area, it has to start to do it, right? Same thing.
There's like a threshold effect.
I believe so. I could be wrong. But that's the first time I've told the public that story. So if I get shot,
Well, you heard it here first. No. Just check in with us every day. You'll be all right.
So check it out. What if I told you you actually changed the octave in the coil and you found the absolute correct spot to get the highest pitch possible on there of the amount of energy? Not the one that looks the highest on the oscilloscope, the one that has the most energy in it, and that's what hit it.
wow. I believe that totally.
So when I always say it's like a saw, right? Saw blade goes like this.
Yeah.
You find it in the right groove, okay? And that's what you did. You found that groove where you could amplify the most, and then it just, boom, instantly released all the energy into the coil and just created a tremendous force up.
So was it creating like a backdraft of counter space?
That's a good question. You know
or
what?
was it creating like maybe
I
its
don't
own
know
bubble?
because it was so fast. Like I can't explain to you how fast my arm shot out to catch it. So like it happened so quick.
Yeah. And no, I believe that when you have those reflexes, you just don't think, you just react.
Yeah. Check this out. So if you see the Earth, again, positive on top, negative on the bottom. And if you could see it as an ion flow, okay? If they got closer, it'd look like an ion flow. So you'd be putting out plasma like a plasma bridge or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So now what that does is when it's so thin, it puts out pure charge. Does not put out electromagnetism, it puts out charge. Now, see that gravity flyer in the center of that charge. You can manipulate where it is based on which field is going on and moving the charge.
Yep.
So
that makes sense.
Just
Okay,
have to jump it and jump it and jump it. You get what I'm saying? It wants to stay in that steady spot where it's made a connection between the top and the bottom. It likes to stay right in that spot.
So you're creating like a node or an anti-node for it to just settle in.
This will twist your brain. That sounds more like Jacob's ladder to me.
Exactly.
The one you can actually walk up.
I always say it's like a spiral staircase.
Yeah, absolutely.
It jumps. Just keep going up.
Absolutely.
Like I said, guys, I know what this thing's doing. It's just a matter of getting it to the right area. You know what I mean? And
I know you see it. I absolutely know you see it. Because when you were describing what you're describing, I understood because of what happened with me. And I went, you know what? He's going to do it. He's got it. So go for it, man. I'll wait till you get yours done and then I'll do mine.
Again, that's why I'm adding the Tesla coil to it. I was talking earlier about what I was doing with the Tesla coil, right? So I use a ZVS circuit in this one that puts it out at one value. And then I flip the switch and it automatically goes 20 volts higher on the input to go into it and turns off to the other one. So it'll have a jump feature, okay?
Nice.
So it'll automatically expand the field immensely. And that's going to be tied into the piezoelectric buzzer. So when I switch from regular kilohertz to the megahertz that are in that piezo buzzer, it's going to hit at the exact same time that I'm hitting that energy. So what you experienced in your coil the buildup on it, and then the energy blast is exactly what I'm looking for.
There was one other thing. I took a piezo. Well, I took 3 of them actually, and I put them side by side each other, and I focused them on the top of my coil. And when I turned them on, what I did is I ran them in series with my secondary. So when I turned the coil on, they turned on. But through the coil, usually it sings, okay? Like it makes this high-pitched sound all the time. And with those on, I could hear the Doppler effect perfectly.
Yeah.
Perfectly. It was
You know
great.
why?
Not exactly.
Okay.
I have an idea, but not exactly.
Quartz crystal has oxygen in it, and oxygen can be magnetized by your coil.
Oh.
So, you know, people don't understand this. When you take out a lot of the amps and you put a lot more volts in there, you're going for a charge effect.
Yeah.
And it'll charge it. And then if you put more amps in there than volts, you're going for a magnet effect, right?
Yeah.
So just think about that when you're doing your amps and volts and you put the piezo up there. If you're locking into the oxygen inside that crystal, you're going to get a response.
That's interesting. I never thought of it that way. I want a really big one, but I haven't gotten one yet. I bought an ultrasonic cleaner, and I just don't want to wreck it to take the big piezo out of it.
I got a 10-pound piece of quartz sitting in my front yard.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I cut it up in slices sometimes. I take parts of it and run it because I'm trying to find that perfect frequency to hit the oxygen in there to make it light up without touching it.
I just bought myself last week. I was looking for a piece of quartz. I was looking for one shaped a certain way. I've looked everywhere. I could order them online, but I haven't done that yet because we got porch pirates around here.
No.
So yeah, it's just a pain. But so I went and found this pipe in a shop, like a weed shop, and it's shaped like a pointed obelisk.
Okay.
But it's got a hole through it. I don't know how it's going to react, but I'm going to stick it in the center of my coil and run it. There's an experiment that was talked about by T.T. Brown. I think it was T.T. Brown that did it, where the crystal after a while starts to resonate and it starts to grow, and then it loses weight.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, so that's something I want to try, but it's nothing like what you're talking about. I'd much rather have a big raw stone I can, cut pieces off of or chunk pieces off of. This thing's nice, but I don't know, with the holes, it might do something different that I'm not expecting. You know what I mean?
Oh, I do know what you mean. You got to try it just to see what it does.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm going to try it for sure.
I did a test with quartz. So, I'm sorry, granite. You take granite, it has quartz in it, right?
Yep.
You put it in a bowl. And at that time, I had a lot of fluoride, California. They put it in the water. So you put it in the bowl, and you're going to get conductivity out of it. Now, could that you say, okay, let me isolate it. Let me take out the quartz. Does the water have conductivity like a capacitor with 2 rods going into it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the answer was no. So I put salt in a separate test to see if it was salt water that could give me that. The answer was no. So here's the crazy thing that happened. I would add another bowl and we'd just drop a wire from the bowl to the next bowl. I didn't even hook it to the quartz. So at the time I got 6 bowls in the row, one end of my multimeter was on one side's on the other. I looked at conductivity, and all that it would do was continue to rise. It would continue to rise the amount of conductivity in it.
That's interesting.
Crazy, huh?
Very interesting, actually. Makes me think.
Yeah, that's what I mean about the pyramid. So many blocks into it. When you put the water into it, the conductivity rises as you add the mass to it.
I wonder if it's just charge density. Like, I'm just curious as to how that works, because one of my breakthroughs recently had to do with water, and I could use the negative on my secondary, put it in a bowl of water on one end of the bowl of water, and use a ferrite core on the other side of the bowl of water and pick up power. And it's just tap water. And I've tested the conductivity. There's no conductivity in it whatsoever. So I don't know if it's
But the water goes into the ferrite and like fills it up full of water, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, it must. Right? It's porous to some degree.
So if anything that could produce electricity gets water into it, which is actually making it conductive, then it's making it where it can produce the energy out of it.
That's interesting thought. I'm going to have to test that theory. I like that. I love testing new theories.
It's going from potential to a viable thing. That's why when you look at piezoelectricity, it can create electricity when it's struck. And it can create it if you resonate the oxygen. The rest of the crystal won't do anything.
I always thought it was the crystal resonating, but that makes sense.
No, it has to be something in there that can work with something else outside of it. So people tap these things all the time. And when they put the two plates to it, when they do it in the military, and they put two plates on each side, they actually create a pulse between the electrodes. So they hit it one side, hit it the other side, and it's just producing energy based on when it hits it, and it picks up the energy from the crystal on the outside and brings it into the wire.
Huh, that's interesting.
So, yeah, people keep telling me that this thing's going to be able to turn on, and I go, well, you haven't figured out how to turn it on yet.
Yeah, basically.
So,
I know what you mean by that. I believe it can do it.
Yeah, look, I'm all for healing with crystals. I just believe you have to turn it on first.
Yeah. I don't know if it was. I don't think they're meant to be used for healing as much as they're meant to be used as a resonating factor to get the frequency going for healing. You know what I mean? I think we already have it in us, but I think that because quartz resonates at a certain frequency, at a certain size, there's factors involved, but I think that, it's about the sound, about that vibration.
Well, let's put it this way. Things may seem like they resonate at the right frequency that you think you have, but only when you hit the correct frequency does it light up.
Yep.
So it may be something that's working in a way just like a Tesla coil. So you have different radio frequencies that you put into it, right? And depending on which one you hit, you get a certain resonance value. You may not be on the correct one when it comes to quartz yet.
Yeah, you might be right on that one. I was doing tests with this coil about 10 years ago now. And my buddy had gout in his big toe. And he had gone to the doctor and they said, well, the only thing we could do is operate. And he's like, I don't want to do that. So he comes back he was living with us at the time. We had a big house. And he's like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, okay, well, I just got all of Raymond Rife's frequencies. How about I run it through my coil and we'll just do a test? But I warn you, I don't know what it's going to do, and told him all the disclaimer of it. And he said, yeah, no, I accept that. That's fine. Let's try it. Within 2 weeks, he cracked his toe and the gout was gone. I don't know if it was the vibration, the energy, the frequency. I don't know. It wasn't a controlled experiment. It was just, he was in the room when I was doing experiments and his foot felt better. And we came up with this idea of, why don't we try it? And then I looked for the frequencies and we did. So
can I tell you a cool experiment that I saw? And I'll probably tell you the answer.
Go ahead.
This guy took diamonds and he put them in a like oxygen chamber. So nothing can get in there. It's just sealed, right?
Yeah.
Then he put in pure oxygen and then heated it. So he had done a control experiment where he heated it with no oxygen in there and it did nothing to the actual diamonds. As soon as he add pure oxygen to it, it dissolved the diamonds into nothing.
Whoa.
So when you start thinking about that and you start thinking about the oxygen being heated, once the oxygen wanted to bond with another oxygen atom, you basically allowed the heat to get into it and tear away this piece of diamond to nothing.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
That's like the coolest thing in the world, right?
Yeah, you're not wrong, because you know what? That goes along with what I was saying a few lives back about how I believe that time is a form of energy that could be imparted into every cell. What if it's directly connected to oxygen in some way, shape, or form?
But see, that's the same thing with the gravity flyer. We build these fields, right? But I'm telling you right now, we have to take it and take the oxygen in it, and we have to polarize that. You know what I mean? We have to create power inside of it. And when I do my paper lifter experiment, I'm dealing with pure charge. I've eliminated the voltage. I've eliminated all the other things in it. It's down to like 90% charge and 10% of the other stuff.
Yeah.
So I get a pure charge out of it. Now I'm hoping I can get oxygen to charge, because I charge it inside my paper lifter. When I do that experiment, the reason it has so much more force is because I'm adding mass to it by charging the oxygen.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
So when I come out with that number on there, I don't expect to get grams. I expect it to be way, way higher in the amount of power it puts down to it.
No, I get that much. Yeah.
So
I hope you get to do it. I really do. I hope you're the first one to make that sucker float, because you've been working hard at that puppy, and you have the concept.
You're going to get like a month straight of me flying this thing in every different area. You know, I'll buy, a couple $1,000 cameras just to show it off that there is no string. I can't wait for that day.
If you do it, then I'll do it solid state, and then we can test that theory to see if when two fields get close together, they multiply. So they'll fly together, right? I don't know. It's an interesting thought.
It doesn't have to be a rotating disc if you understand energy as a flow.
Yeah.
And I keep telling Benefactor that the coil that he's working on is an energy flow.
Yep.
So if you start seeing that and you build your coils above and beneath the center plate, then solid state's going to be fairly easy if you can understand the flow of it, just like you understand yours.
Well, that was part of what my presentation's about, is actually talking about the flow and how these coils, when I first started, they were based on the atomic structure of elements that, to the best of my understanding. And I look at them and I can see how they flow three-dimensionally, and I kind of mimic that. See, I had this thing when I was a kid, and I still kind of have it. I can look at something, pull it apart with my mind, look at each piece, and put it back together. And if it doesn't work, I can pull it apart, pull the piece out, put another piece in, make it work, then I can go build it. I've been doing that since I was a kid.
So I always tell people, when you see a clock, you just see a hand moving.
Yeah.
When I see a clock, I see all the parts inside.
Yeah, see, you have the same thing. You can just, know exactly what's in there, how it's working. Even if you look in the back, you know exactly what gear is going to be where to what, because every arm's got a turn and they're all interconnected.
That's why my wife gives me those projects of those little cheap things from IKEA or whatever she tries to buy. I take a look at the picture of how it's all separated apart, right? And I will never read the instruction.
Yeah, me neither. I can see exactly how it's built before, even if it's sitting in a pile. I just got to see the picture. Oh, he's back.
Yeah, are you back? I think his power went out, is what he said in the stream.
Yeah, I seen it in the comment section. He just got his power back on.
Yeah, my power went out.
There he is.
I get brownouts sometimes.
Yeah,
they're coming after you.
I hope not.
We need to set you up with one of my new systems that I've come up with. I figured out a way of, I won't give it fully away, but I figured out a way of shrinking the solar footprint. Drastic.
Say that again? What were you shrinking?
I figured out a way of shrinking the solar footprint. So you know you have to have, like, say, let's see, 8 solar panels of the highest wattage in order to equal 5,000 watts. So you got to have that on your roof. You got to pay for an electrician to come in and tap it in, and sometimes even a structural engineer for your roof.
Yeah.
So it's a big cost. It's an expense. Well, I figured out a way to bypass all of that and close the footprint where it goes in a geometrical way so that it doesn't take up a ton of space.
Is it with the existing solar panels, or you got something different?
Say that again?
Is it with the existing solar panels, or is it something different?
No, it's with existing solar panels. It's just the way that it's put together and the way that it unfolds. That's as much as I can give you. But when I'm going to do the big unveil. I hope it's going to be done. I got 90% of the welding done, but I want to do the big unveil at the end of the presentation on August 3rd.
Oh,
So
I have to tell you, Gerald, I'm really excited for your presentation. Every time you speak, you have something cool that you're working on, and I'd like to learn more.
I got scooped today by
what happened?
Tech Ingredients. I love it. This guy's a genius. Hey, I'm not insulting the guy. I give him kudos, man. I'd applaud him.
What does scooped mean?
He built the thing that I have literally designed and written in a book, and I've been meaning to do, but I haven't had the chance to get done.
Oh, so he's passing it off as his own?
Well, no, it's his. Okay.
Oh, it's his?
It's like the thing we talked about with the 100 monkey experiment. Okay.
Oh, so it's just like happening. It's happening.
Literally, I drew it, designed it, dated it. It's in my book. I left it there, and it's a thing I kept wanting to go back to. I got to do it. But I got so much other things on my plate. I just put it aside. So today, Tech Ingredients comes out with an experiment on how he could use an air conditioner in the winter to heat his house. And he proved that it was better than a heat pump. A small window air conditioner at 450 watts produces more heat than a 1500 watt heater, both running for a half-hour period of time. Blew my mind.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how does it work?
Well, he took a bedroom and he cut a hole in the door for his air conditioner, and he put the back side of the air conditioner that you'd normally exhaust your heat from. He put it into the bedroom. Okay. And the cold air was blowing into the hallway. So the experiment went, he put the 1500 watt heater in the room. He turned it on. He had a fan blowing the heat around, so it was an even distribution. It ran at 1365 watts for a half hour. Then he shut that off, aired out the room. Then he turned the air conditioner on for a half hour, which only sucks 455 watts. And it heated the room 17 degrees more than the 1500 watt heater. And it did it in the same amount of time for less energy.
You know, I bet that the companies that sell those units or sell the heating units know that. I bet they.
I'm betting they do too. I found it just awesome because I literally have it drawn out for it's like almost the size of a furnace. It's two air conditioners stacked one on top of the other. The heating side goes into one compartment that's insulated. The cold side goes into the other side that's insulated. And then there's vent that comes off the cold side to go into the furnace for essential air. And there's a vent that comes off the hot side that goes into the furnace for the heating. And you just have a vent valve or whatever you call it to shut the vent off, depending on which one you're doing at the time. So in the winter, I use my air conditioner. I haven't done this yet. This is a part of the experiment I want to do. I'd use the air conditioner to heat the house and blow the cold air outside. And in the summer, I'd blow the cold air into the furnace and blow the hot air outside. And it's literally cheaper than running a furnace or electric heaters. Just mind-blowing.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, you heard it here, folks. You heard it here. They are lying to you.
It was built to exhaust heat outside was the air conditioner, and that's why it's working that way.
Exactly. And it works so well that if you capture that heat, It's a heater. It's better
Yeah.
heater than the heaters that are out.
That's
I
Well,
just-
isn't that just a testament to how much waste is going through these systems, though? Because isn't that heat waste, the exhaust?
Yes.
Like, that's wasted energy.
so
But again-
if you know how to convert heat into electricity,
Mhm.
and you can do that, then you got something going on there.
Okay,
Mm.
but now you're talking free energy. What I'm talking about is free heat.
No,
Yeah, no, you're
Yeah.
you're talking about a very cool, simple solution to solving your heat problem. No, I love it. I love it. It's a hack. It's a life hack.
Yeah, it'll help, basically, right? But now, if you couple that to the formula I have for you build a grow room in your house, you run solar paneled pool heaters along the walls as you're growing your food, and that hot water that runs through there goes into your hot water tank, preheating all your hot water, which kills the gas bill so much. And in the winter time, I'd say the winter time. What am I thinking? Your grow room exhausts directly into the intake of your furnace, and that blows out through your whole house, saving your hydro bill, and you get food in the same process as you do heating your water and heating your house. And because you're growing food, you throw some herbs and spices in there, and it's literally cleaning the air in your whole house. So it acts as an air filter. It's a formula. It works.
You know what, Gerald? You could just redesign the systems for a house with all that in mind. It'll save us all a ton of money and energy.
Well, I do have
Absolutely.
my own secret blend of herbs and spices.
You'll be a KFC master after a while.
I can tell you a story about that. It used to get me into trouble, and I got to watch who I tell it to. But KFC, Colonel Sanders, my dad used to work with him. I got
Really?
a picture. Yeah, I got a picture of my dad and Colonel Sanders standing beside each other with my dad in the red suit because he was a district manager for 5 of the KFCs in the city I live.
Okay.
I ate so much chicken as a kid, I'm telling you, I got sick of it. And you know how they tout it's 11 herbs and spices?
Yeah.
Bullshit, it was 13.
Ha
I'll never forget it. They used to literally advertise it's 13 herbs and spices that we have, and they're secret and blah, blah, blah. And my dad was such good friends with them. I didn't get the whole list, but my dad used to laugh. He says, the secret ingredient nobody can figure out is baking powder.
That makes
That's
a lot
so
of
simple.
When
Yeah,
you're
that's so simple.
Yeah, when you're deep frying it, what it does, it puts air pockets underneath the skin, and it causes it to be extra crispy. That was their secret.
Wow. And it's science, chemistry.
Yeah.
If you've ever made Chinese food, then you probably know that because they use the same thing.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Oh,
there you
that
go.
makes sense. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
I love it. Yeah, man, it's crazy. Life's crazy. I love it.
It's all a big circle. We just don't know which way to go.
It really is. It really is. Round and round we go until we find out at the end, I guess.
We're all in the merry-go-round of life, huh?
That's right. Yeah, so there's lots of things I want to share this year. It's just it's hard to kind of get the information out, right? And
Well, hey, we're always here, man, and I know crypto's always there. So as soon as you want to do it, I know you're waiting for APAC, but let it out, man.
I'll let some out before APAC. I actually have a plan for that.
Do it.
I'm gonna release a teaser.
Does crypto have free energy Fridays?
that's-
Maybe you can, bust it
Yeah.
out this week.
Yeah, well, so does the League of Extraordinary Inventors as well. It kind of couples to Free Energy Fridays. So either way, either or, both, whatever.
There you go.
Yeah. I don't know about this Friday. Can I release that this Friday? Maybe. I'm not going to promise you, but maybe. But there's going to be a good teaser before the conference. I'll tell you that.
Oh,
You'll like the
okay.
teaser.
Oh, we waited, man. I waited like
I
2
know.
weeks
I
already.
apologize, Nathan. I felt so bad. I was so mad that day. Nobody could talk to me. I was like, just leave me alone.
You still have my mind blown by your theory of the Ankh being a tuning fork. I'm sorry, I'm still okay.
It's a little more than a tuning fork as well. It's actually an electromagnetic motor as well.
What?
Yeah, where's that?
All right,
You
now.
gotta explain it.
Come on now.
I'm gonna build it and show it. It's not part of the presentation or whatever, but came up with this a few years ago after I watched a guy do a video on it. He was from Africa and he was explaining what the Ankh was as a motor, and I was like, what? That's insane. And he talked about it, but he didn't build it. And then I built it and it worked. I just used a piece of copper and I was like, what the hell? And then just looking for this paper. I'm having a hard time finding it.
Well, is it like an electromagnetic motor or like
Yeah,
what kind of motor?
actually, the whole Ankh itself spins. Put it on a
Wow.
lodestone, okay?
Uh-huh.
Create a positive and negative voltage. You know where the arms come out? One positive, one negative. That sucker will start to spin all on its own.
And you can do this just with, some crystals and some metal?
I don't know about crystals. I don't know, but the Ankh was made out of gold. Or it was made out of
gold, okay.
electrum, one or the other.
Okay, so electrum is what, gold and silver combined, I think?
Yeah, gold, silver, and a little bit of copper and a tiny bit of nickel.
Is that to like maximize the conductivity or something, or is it
I
just?
think so. I think it had something to do with crystallization, but I don't know for sure.
Didn't they have a shipwreck that had that in their cargo hold?
Yeah, a ton of it. And then it just like you never heard anything about it after that.
That's so interesting, man.
Yeah. When did they discover the shipwreck?
Oh, I don't know.
I think we heard about 10 years ago. Have we heard of that?
10 years ago? Might have been. I know it was a while ago.
Huh. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's insane. The real truth out there about our history and how these things worked is insane.
I feel like there was a totally advanced civilization out there that probably lived more in harmony with Earth, and then we came along and just did everything else.
Hey, if you listen to the Indian Vedic texts, we were in the Kali Yuga, the age of ignorance and basically the opposite of spiritual enlightenment.
But that's a cycle though, right? Like
Yeah,
in their
yeah,
belief
and then
system, that's a cycle.
And there's debate on when it's ending, but it's my belief that we are in the transition of it ending now.
Well, I don't know if you guys believe in dreams and visions, but I was given a dream about how the universe is actually shaped. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it was just something my brain came up with.
We'd love to hear it. I'm interested.
Well, it's like a big center column, like a tube, and then picture a record that goes around it. And then our sun isn't stationary, neither are our planets, but we're stationary behind the sun. And the sun travels through the universe, spinning slowly, picture it like around a wire, right? And turning at the same time. And we, as our planets, do the same thing. And as we go around this record, we go up and we go down, and we keep going around this record up and down like in a sinusoidal way. And the positive and negative, or north and south pole, is at the top of the tube and bottom of the tube. And as we come up over an arch, that's when we're in the positive, not the Kali Yuga, but the one after that. And as we go down into our trough, we're in the Kali Yuga, which is our dumbed down spot, right? So it's like a sinusoidal movement throughout the universe in a consistent manner throughout all of time, depending how time really works. But that was just a dream. I don't know how true it is, right?
Yeah, interesting to think about. I mean, dreams could also be messages or metaphors that might not be literal,
Oh, some of them are.
Yeah.
Because this coil, the one that you guys see, the big one, that all came from a dream. The very numbers it took to wind that coil came from a dream.
Wow, that's crazy. No, because I hear that a lot, people who have dreams or visions. Tesla had them. Einstein claimed to have them.
I get it in the last 2 minutes of the dream before you wake up.
Mhm.
when you're starting to realize that it's real life again instead of the dream state, that's when I get the most information.
Yep. And you got to repeat it in your mind over and over and over and over so you don't forget it. Yeah. I got up. I have a pen and a
Yeah.
paper beside my bed, and I literally will jump out of bed and just start writing.
Yeah, because you'll forget. You're right. You'll forget it.
That's right.
It
There's
fades fast.
quite a few breakthroughs that have happened that way for me. So I don't know. Maybe it's the universe. Maybe it's my subconscious. Maybe it's a bit of both.
I believe to some extent we can all tap into the Akashic records. You know, I credit the Akashic records with a couple of my epiphanies. You know, not all of them, but it seems like when I'm meditating, especially, I do have these ideas that just kind of flow into my head without any kind of lineage of, you know, getting there from thought to thought.
See, and that could be part of the whole 100 monkey experiment. We all connect at different times to the Akashic records. We pick up on these things and we bring them out as we connect to each other because we think about them.
It would make sense if the Akashic record is actually powering our consciousness. It is our consciousness. You know, we're part of it.
I have a different belief, but that's possible.
Well, what's your belief?
Well, I believe in God, to be honest with you. And I believe that he put certain mechanisms into play for us to live life with a free will. And I believe that those mechanisms allow us to grow and allow us to live life in abundance. But because...
So you see...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, because of the powers that ought not be, they don't want to see us live in abundance. So certain devices have been hidden and certain things have been kept from us. I'm not saying dastardly on purpose, but maybe just out of greed because they have a different idea of making money or I don't know, something along those lines.
So your belief is, you believe that the Akashic or the Aether is a part of God or an aspect of God rather than God itself?
Yes, I believe that the Aether is a mechanism that God put into play for
a mechanism.
Not only him, but for all of us. I believe that. I think it's kind of like his playground. And we're allowed to tap into it if we don't have that intention to hurt another person. Because I don't think that anybody who works in this field, if they had evil intent, would be able to find any sort of breakthrough that was significant.
Yeah. No, I had a similar idea that, you know, what if ill intent is what prevents people from accessing the Akashic record, you know?
Yeah, I would think so. That's just a thought on my part, though.
Well, it also goes, guys, I think you resonate differently if you fast. So
yes,
your body isn't dealing with all this food going through your system. So your heat and everything's different, which changes your resonance frequency of what your body's at.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that way.
Yeah, and fasting also allows your body to detox. It gets rid of all the crap and it makes you cleaner.
It allows you to heal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what if that was just a simple frequency thing? They learned how to tap into the frequency that created when you fast and then continue it in a larger way inside those temples where you see it come down on the top and go over people. It might just be the same thing.
That's interesting. I know there was multiple different frequencies. I'm buying a new camera setup for APEC, but I'll get it before that. And I'll show you this book. I can't remember where I got this information from, but I have the angle and declination of different pyramids and different times of day where the light comes in to heal different parts of your body, like your liver, your kidneys, brain, heart, broken bones, and the different tone that it takes in order to do it at that declination of light that comes in at that shape of pyramid. I have like a whole page drawn out on it. I gotta show it to you when I get my new camera. It's just freaking crazy. I drew it like 20 years ago almost, maybe 12 or 18. Around. Yeah.
So check it out. I have gout in my right hand. You can probably see how fat it is.
Oh yeah.
So it was all in my left side, 2 weeks ago. Then I blew out my back, and now it's all in my right hand. So it was just like a train wreck for the last 3 weeks. So check it out. When I go on my diet and I fast, Zero
Yep.
problems with gout, zero problems with any gastrointestinal problems, anything like that. My body doesn't swell or anything like that because I can't have a whole lot of salt or soda. It has to be very minimal in my life.
Yep.
But when I fast and do that and drink water and take more protein than anything else in the food, and guys, I 4 inch by 4 inch container by about 1.5 inches deep. That's all I'd eat for the day, and then fast in between. Let me tell you what, the whole life-changing event goes on.
No doubt. No doubt. Gout sucks. Really sucks. I'm betting that I should get something to you. Yeah, we'll have to talk. let me think about that one. I'll have to meditate on that one and see, because some of the stuff that I make, I get nervous about sending it to the States, right? Like I wanted to send something to Jeremiah a long time ago, but I was having issues in so many different fronts. My computer was being hacked. I couldn't get any, literally no emails back from any social media whatsoever. And I still can't, but that's when it started. And I was like, you know what? I'm being watched. I don't want to send you something that's going to get grabbed. You know what I mean?
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. So if you travel, you and I should meet.
Exactly.
I have no issues handing something to somebody in person. That's not a problem. I even said that to Jeremiah. If you can make it to Canada, or I'll make it to the border, and you make it to the border, and we'll sit and have a lunch or something, and I'll give you your clock.
I'm literally an hour from the border.
Yeah, you're not far, eh? Ooh.
Yeah, we all can meet up for a conference someday.
You know what? I'm into that. But my issue is I can't really cross the border. My past, when I was a kid, I made bad decisions. So
I hear you on that, man. I'm right there with you.
what's that?
That's it. I think we all have.
Yeah. I never used any violence. I'm not like that. I never did any crazy robberies or whatever. But buy and sell stuff got me into trouble. But that's what you do when you're a kid. You get into trouble, you learn, right?
Oh yeah, crazy.
Yep. But yeah, so that's a bit of the stuff that I've been working on for the last let's see, I think I started about 18 years ago on all this. This isn't something I started as a kid. This is something that after I became disabled, I sort of got into. So
There you go. See, I did the same thing.
yeah.
So
Well, you gotta have a hobby, right?
Oh,
And then
sorry.
go ahead. Sorry about it.
Oh no, I was just gonna chime in. Mike does. He said he can get on in about an hour if that's cool with everybody. He was gonna help me with the Bedini circuit. I was hoping that you all could help me find the put together a quick materials list for phase 2 testing in a little bit here.
Well, let him help you with his version of the
He put together the circuit, so I'd rather him and
Yeah, you should have one-on-one with him and do it because without anybody chiming in.
But no, are you gonna throw together a quick presentation?
No,
no,
I'm not ready, but I
Oh,
appreciate
okay.
the offer.
John's
I
gonna
want
make
no
us
problem.
wait.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I gotta make you wait.
You gave us
Yeah.
some pretty
No,
good
no,
teasers. You gave us some
No.
pretty good teasers.
No, he did. Thank you for that. It's just I've been waiting, and I can't explain what's going on in this coil more than what I already did. I don't want to give anybody any more information.
Yeah.
But I know more of what's going on, and
Yeah.
it's killing
I
me
know
not to
you do.
talk about it.
I know you do. That's why I said we got to do a private Zoom one day. There's some things I can tell you too, but I don't like to release everything because this system threw me for a loop when I discovered it, and I've been mapping it ever since. I've been mapping it for about 12, 13 years, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. When I got to talk to John Bedini and Thomas Bearden at once, that was when I first discovered it. It was like a week before that.
Wait. You got to talk to Bedini and Tom Bearden at the same time?
Yeah, you know what happened? They were both at this conference, and
Wow.
who was it that was doing it? They did a radio. It was, oh, come on, brain. He's very well known. He does all. Thank you, Art Bell. He was complaining at one time because he did an interview with John Bodini, and then he did an interview with Thomas Bearden, and he made a joke how he could never get the two of them together in the same room because he wanted to do an interview with both of them. Then there was this conference going on, and it was like across the street from Art Bell's or something like that, and he pulled them in for a radio interview, and they had a call-in special. So I called in and I got to ask a question.
Wow.
That's how I got to talk to him. It was one question, but I said to him, I said, and I didn't tell him I've done experiments. I just wanted to keep it vague. But I asked him, I said, okay, so if you could come up with a system that resonates with, say, cesium 123 or whatever it is, and it resonates. Thank you. And it resonates at the same frequency, and you're able to take the energy out at that resonant frequency so that it lowers down to a different resonant frequency. Are you not changing it into your daughter product? And if you could do that, is that not what we're searching for? And Thomas Bearden and John both laughed at me. I took it as not as an insult, but as a compliment. And they said, well, what was it? It was Thomas Bearden that said, he says, well, son, if you could do that, we'd all be out of a job and you'd have the Holy Grail sitting in your hand. And they both laughed.
Yeah, because they know that's the Holy Grail of physics.
Is that the Holy Grail of physics?
I don't know.
Pardon me if I say this, then I'm fucked.
I always thought that the Holy Grail of physics was what the rodent coil represented, but I could be wrong.
Well, you know what? If you can build a magnetic field in the center of your open core system and still have a magnetic field on the outside of your system because you're pushing that excess energy to it, and you collect that excess energy and burn it in a load, you'd be pulling the energy from the whatever's sitting in the center core at whatever frequency it's at whatever energy level it's at, and you'd be able
that
to
makes sense. That makes sense when I have the neodymium sphere vibrating outside of the donut and it's resonating with the Schumann resonance because it's it's resonating with the Earth's magnetic magnetosphere, right?
Yeah.
So it's affecting it outside of the condensed vortex where it should be affected. That explanation makes more sense than anything I've ever heard.
Go ahead.
You need a coil inside of that coil.
If my coil is.
If you want some more cool experiments, when you build your next one, run a coil through the center so that you tap into it. I'm telling you, it change your life.
So I do have a coil. Yeah, so I have a coil inside a coil. They're wrapped by firely, they're interwoven. But do you mean like a separate third coil in the center of the open core?
I'm saying that rodent coil needs a center coil inside of the field of the round part, right?
Yep.
And you can do cool experiments with Tesla coils hooked to that. You could do it with, just a magnetic coil. You can keep everything internal. God, I'm telling you, field inside of a field is an amazing study in itself.
Yeah, that's part of the system that works in that big coil that you see. It's a field inside of a field. I actually get, and I don't know if this is normal or not. I never asked anyone about it because I really don't know. But when it comes to thermodynamics, usually the center of whatever's hottest is in the center, and then it's cooler on the outside, right? So in my coil, if I'm running a high load on it, it'll get hot in the open core, and I can check that out with a laser thermometer or just a regular digital thermometer. And then on the outside of the coil, it's all the same temperature all the way around, but it's like 4 to 5 degrees cooler.
Wow.
It's almost cold energy on the outside.
Yeah.
Why the heat's on the inside.
Yes.
or it's
Is that normal?
inducting the yeah. So
For what you're doing, it is.
Yeah.
Do you think that's like a byproduct of inducing this aether energy or radiant energy, that cold electricity?
I think the only way that radiant energy or cold electricity can occur is if you form a pinch or a compression so that you can have charge compression, right? And that happened in the center of the open core.
Right. You pinch that pole.
Yeah. Yeah. Right in the center. There's actually a spot in the center of that coil that's a null zone. Now you can take the magnet and you pulse it at 7.83 hertz and it'll hop and spin and it'll go all the way around the coil, right? But if you put it in the open core, just close to the coil, it'll hop and spin and jump around. But if you put it right in the center, very center, it won't move. There's a null zone there.
Right, like the eye of the hurricane, right?
Yeah, it holds whatever is.
So is that the point where the neodymium sphere would kind of levitate if it's the right shape and size?
Actually, you know what? That's funny that you say that, because the last magnet that I made levitate in there was it looked more like a disc, and it would attach itself to the inside core, but I can tap it and it would roll around the core. Like it's on one of my videos.
I have to assume that the different shapes of coils that we're making have to have different complementary field geometries for the magnets that are inside.
Get picked up on that. Well, that's why I built 175 of them.
Yeah.
I wanted to figure out how this works, right? Yeah,
he's the Lord of the Rings.
Well, I don't know about that, but I blew up a lot of stuff and I electrocuted myself a lot. Don't kid yourself. But yeah, I built a lot of different
This is
parts.
cool. And I get to talk to you, both of you guys. Like, I got two amazing genius inventors, right?
Two Tesla coils pointed at each other, put a light in the middle, makes a dead spot.
Really?
So multiply the coils and you're going to get the same thing. That's why when they talked about Terrence Howard in the Saturn project, that's why it clicks and makes sense, because there's going to be a spot that your actual center is.
There is.
And then everything rotates around it. That.
I kind of wonder if that's actually where you could travel between planets without actually affecting your mass or your speed. Literally almost like teleportation from point to point, right? If there's a null zone there and there's a null zone here, and you can match the frequency of that null zone of that planet, I don't know. It's just a thought, right? I kind of wonder.
Well, that goes into Victor Schauberger, when he did his air experiment where he's rotating the field and then he travels down the center where there is no inertia, then he can use whatever force pulls him through it.
He actually made a system that floated, but nobody believed him. His assistant seen it, many people seen it, but he actually made you couldn't call it levitation because it worked on the way air flowed, but it literally floated. It was really crazy.
Oh, check this out. In the documentary, right, that we've all seen, we see his son talk about the energy that he was producing. And he kept saying it didn't have enough current in it, so they couldn't use it as an energy source. What he didn't realize was the water itself, the way it was moving. So coils in the center, the water is rotating just like this, just like it would in that Rodden coil as a flow of energy.
Oh, wow.
What documentary is this?
This is, oh man, it's getting late. What was his name? Victor Schauberger.
Schauberger, yeah.
So it was sort of like towards the end of the documentary, right after they talk about his device and the chamber it created. Right after that, he does a brief, I want to say it's like a minute, maybe two, on this energy. The crazier thing is the exact same energy we're playing with very low amps and very high voltages in order to produce this, in order to get that water itself to move in that direction. You're taking the oxygen in the water and he's just polarizing or charging it to get the field.
Wow. See, and I think one of the keys to this energy is a coil system that is bifilar, and you capture the back EMF faster than, I don't even know how to explain that without sounding too woo. But when you turn it on and it fills the whole coil with energy in every piece of copper, and you shut it off really fast, that energy all goes into the back EMF.
Yes.
By the time it's filled up the back EMF and you flip the switch on, fill the primary, they're butting up against each other and creating a ton of current, and you're releasing one and filling the other, kind of like breathing. Right?
But don't you have to design the circuit so it shuts down as fast as possible?
Yeah, I fire my stuff at 1% duty cycle sometimes.
Tesla's Colorado notes he has a circuit in there, which is a power circuit. So it'll take and use the excess energy and loop it in the system in order to use it again. So it switches when you go from the voltage is needed to run the Tesla coil to a lower voltage, and then it brings it out of your circuit. So you can use all that energy with that circuit.
Oh, wow.
There is a guy out there by the name of Joel Legacy. Big shout out, Joel. If you're listening, you rock. And he had a dream. I'm just looking for the paper right now. I'm old school. I write it down on paper, right? Because then that way nobody can take it. You have to come to my house then, and good luck with that one. Yeah, so here it is. He comes up with this. He has a dream, and he comes up with a circuit called Bedini's reactive DC magnetic oscillator. And I tried it, and it works. And I was able to feed my back EMF back into the front part of the circuit, and the circuit energized even, I'd say, maybe 30% more. It didn't complete it, like it wasn't running on its own, but the trigger that I was using, the power went way down. I think I was using maybe 100 milliamps to start, and then when I was done, it was like 20 milliamps or something. So it was close. It was close to running itself, being just a resonator from this one circuit. I'm gonna do a video on it and show it. It's pretty neat.
Sure hope so.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I just wonder if me closed looping it, but again, it doesn't run itself, so it's not really a closed loop at that point. I just wonder if it would, if I had a large enough capacitor bank in there or something. I don't know. Just a thought. But I'll show you this circuit. It's really neat. And Joel, if you're listening, it worked. Okay? Your dream circuit worked. There, I had to say that.
Yeah. I always talk about anchor watt and then Tesla coils, okay? So hear me out. And I think I said this last time, Benefactor were on together. If you took a Tesla coil that's an output coil, put it in the center, just same configuration as anchor watt. Every tower, put a receiving coil. So you got 4 that go on the inner part, and then you got another 4, I think it's 8 on the outer part. So if you simply take in between those and you make a saltwater battery, you can then absorb all of the energy from that resonating coil, dump in 10 times the energy into the batteries, and run a load off of it and have 0 problems.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's like they drew a map in the layout of how they build things. And as long as you can put it to what you know how to work on, it makes it easier. So you can not only get a loop for the system, you have energy coming out.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. That's really interesting.
Because everything comes in, that's what people don't understand. It's receiving coil, it's receiving energy, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you put an immediate load on it, it destroys it. But if you run it into something that can hold capacitance, then it saves it. And no matter which one you run, you can't pull enough out to be more than what you're putting in.
Yeah,
That's
actually,
crazy.
there's a way of, you know how most people, they come up with like that high voltage, they call it scalar, and they can't convert it to real power, right? Well, if you use 2 capacitors back to back, you can. It converts it right back to regular power. because that static field goes in, polarizes, you depolarize it or swap it back out with having your capacitors back to back, and then you pull it out.
So what? They could just detect it with their multimeters or whatever?
After the capacitors, yeah.
But I'm saying, like, before they're able to utilize it, they're just able to
Yeah,
detect
you pick it up with your multimeter, but it won't go into like
a load.
a load. You can't do anything with it. Well, if you run it through capacitors back to back, you can, because it builds current as you're going back to back from that capacitor and of course your system itself.
Huh. Do the capacitors have to be exactly the same?
Yes, they do. And they have to be what's the word I'm looking for? Not polarized, but not AC/DC. I'm using the wrong term. I know I am. I'm just kind of brain dead. It's getting kind of late for my head. I got so much to do today. I did so much today, and I got still a few things to do before I go to bed. So
Silver Cart says, Anchor Watt battery, baby. Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of things out there.
Anchor Watt is my personal favorite ancient ruin. I love Anchor Watt. Everything about it is so beautiful.
Was Anchor Watt connected to that island with the heads?
The Easter Island?
Easter Island, yeah. Wasn't it sitting on the same ley line?
I don't know. That'd be fascinating, though. Let's see. Let us look.
Yeah, I kind of wonder.
You know what? I'd love to take my gravity flyer out to Giant Rock and see what it does out there.
Oh yeah.
That I don't live too far from it, so you know what I mean. It's like maybe a couple hours from my house. I might try.
Oh, wow. You should try it. Get it on video.
I'd like to go in the Integratron, but I don't want anything to do with the hippies and the.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, apparently it was taken over by bikers, and it's like you can't even get close to it now.
Now, if I got rich, I would buy that thing and produce, you know, the fields that's supposed to go into it and make it right.
For sure, absolutely. If
we could all sit out there and have ourselves a glass of lemonade or something, you know what I mean?
Damn
like people are running through it.
I would love to build something similar with a slightly different system, but on the same principle.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if it would help people.
Crypto says Anchor Watt has a floating megalith island in its lake.
Ooh, interesting.
That is, that just blew my mind.
I never knew that. You learn something new every day.
Hey, Crypto, how do I get on that show where you guys talk about ancient sites, man? That's always fascinating to me.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's absolutely killer.
Yeah.
So I'll bring up one more thing, and then I'm going to kind of bail on you guys, if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's getting almost to the 3-hour mark, so yeah. Go ahead.
You guys know what the PMH is? Ed Lead, permanent. It's the thing that Ed Lead Scallon came up with. Lots of people have done videos on it. If you look at Jason Verbelli, even last year he was doing experiments on it. So the PMH, it's with the horseshoe, and then the 2 copper coils, they're counterwound. Okay, so and when you energize it, you put up. How do I explain this? Okay, so you take a piece of metal and you put it underneath the horseshoe, and you energize the tube or the line, and it becomes magnetic, and it will sit there in a closed loop for 50, 60, 100 years, they say. So it's like a perpetual magnetic loop, but you can't do anything with it. You can't make power from it or whatever, right? So Jason Verbelli, like I just made a video on this, but I didn't show a demo. Jason Verbelli did a video, and he shows how when you energize the horseshoe and then de-energize it, it will light a light because that magnetic turns into electric. And he's like tapping with a 9-volt battery, and he can get it to pulse, but he can't get it to stay on. And he's like, if I just had a variable switcher. And there was somebody that I watch called Tristan McNabb, and he pulled the little washing machine motor apart. That's the Jaron Morin device. You guys remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
If you look at the Jaron Morin device in its pieces, it's a PMH with a spinning magnet on the end so that it has a variable switching device. It's literally a magnetic perpetual motion holder. I'm definitely butchering that. But if you look at the way it's built, it's literally a PMH with moving parts. It blew my mind.
Wow.
Somebody figured out how to take the PMH, put it into a device, and then put it in a washing machine. I told no one. Because the coils on this thing are counterwound. One's clockwise, one's the other, counterclockwise. It's one wire, and then it's got a capacitor that connects it. And all you do is spin the magnet on it, and you're creating power. Like, I think Mike Faraday was getting 40 watts for free. I could be wrong on that. But
yeah, I had a couple of those in my garage. I worked with them like 4 years ago, I think it was.
yeah, so if you look at the way the coils are, and you look at the way the steel is literally shaped like a horseshoe. And the coils are wound like a PMH. So it's just mind-blowing. I thought, I can't believe somebody came up with that, and nobody actually saw it.
If you take the horseshoe-shaped coil and you change the actual places where the windings go,
Yeah.
you can actually change that to be north or south when it comes out of the bottom.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah.
See, there you go. And that's what happens in the PMH, too. That's awesome.
That's so cool.
I love finding out stuff like that. It's just, science is awesome. I love to learn.
They have an old-time video on it. I'll find it. I'll send it to you, man. It's
Definitely, I'll watch it for sure. For sure. That's awesome. All that science, you know what? My whole goal in life is to learn one new thing a day. That's my joy. Yeah. That's why I got into the science. Because I'm learning stuff. Like, I got notes I got to write down. I'm learning so much stuff.
Yeah, so much learning, but I mean, it's a lot to take in, but at the same time, I feel like it's helped me understand like so much more. Not only in science, but in understanding life in general.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'd have to agree. Kind of the way it works, right? Science, life, right? I don't know. I guess physics. It's all part of it.
Philosophy, yeah.
Yeah. But academia loves to separate that so that they can get their money for teaching you by each subject. And then they keep the subject separated so that you don't put all the pieces together. Right?
But we're putting the pieces together right here on the show, gentlemen.
They should have just offered physics instead of English when we got to high school.
Yeah.
Because at that point, we can all read and spell. That doesn't need to be expanded. What needs to be expanded is the physics.
Absolutely. And the way that physics works and the way that it's taught, it should be fun, not so dry and dusty as a desert fart.
Oh, I'll tell you what, if I did the class, man, we would light it up every once in a while with voltage and keep that whole thing excitable.
There you go. You know it. That's the way to teach. You want to make people smile. You want to make people think and go,
right.
What is he doing there?
Hey,
that's how they learn.
High voltage tells you a lot more when you get it running, and it shows you its secrets more than low voltage does.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I just started playing with high voltage this last year because even low voltage with these systems I play with are crazy. Because there's things, like I said, I haven't talked about that make me a little nervous.
Yeah.
So,
you should add a trigger circuit to your thing. You can put in whatever you want.
A which?
So I add a trigger circuit to my high voltage. So it basically runs the power from the power source in through this trigger circuit that goes just straight over to the ZVS, right?
Oh, yeah, okay.
So the little trigger circuit will allow you to add a 5-volt circuit to it, which you could put in your frequency and duty cycle, and it completely changes your high voltage coming out of your coil.
Oh, that's what you were talking about on your video I was watching today.
Yeah.
I seen that today. I was watching going, yeah, you know what? I'm building one of those.
Yeah. Like $10 worth of parts changes the whole way you see high voltage.
Yeah, for sure. I'm building one of those. 'Cause the high voltage I have now is it's not as controllable as I'd like. I got a neon sign transformer. I got a bunch of those high voltage modules, and I got a bunch of plasma globe, the hearts from them. Right, I had a few break in my time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, it tells you a lot about charge. I used to take 2 flybacks, put them in series, right?
Yeah.
In order to draw down the amps and bring up the volts. Now with this circuit, I can draw down as many amps as I want, bring up as many volts as I want, along with changing the frequency in it to get myself in that place where I can get the charge.
So you got full control.
Full control.
Oh, that's what I want.
They're not hiding it from me, buddy. I got this one.
You know what I kind of wondered? I kind of wondered if an H bridge would work in my system, because I have like a bifilar, and an H bridge switches the polarity consistently back and forth, right? I kind of wonder if doing that would give it some form of an upward motion. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing it out there. We're talking about circuits, so
It's an interesting idea.
yeah, H bridges are the things they use to run motors, right? So I kind of wonder. I don't know. Just a thought. But I'm building your circuit, that's for sure. When I heard that full control, oh yeah, I'm building that for sure. I actually have a ZVS. I have the 1800 watt ZVS, so I got to change out some of the caps on it, but big deal.
Yeah, I was thinking instead of a 20K ohm resistor, I could just use a potentiometer in there, and it'll give me the resistance going up and down that I want. So I could put a 30, like a 30 K ohm potentiometer in there, and now I can change that as well on the resistance end of it to change the circuit even more.
That's fine tuning right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I might try that after you try. I'm gonna build the first circuit first.
Oh, it's gonna you'll see it immediately. That's what I love about high voltage. As soon as you do it and you start changing the frequency, you're gonna go, well, where did all the white go? And then why is this thing not jumping the spark gap anymore? And then you're gonna start to ask yourself, what is really going on here? What did I just do to this thing?
Yeah, I can't wait, because I imagine I'm gonna see even more strange anomalies come off the system.
Well, check it out. You never lose energy. So it had to go somewhere. So my question is, did it go right back into the magnetic coil on the thing? And did it change something of the operation in there with the frequency? And that's the curious thing I have about it.
Huh. Interesting thought.
Because you don't lose any power and it doesn't back up into the circuit.
Yeah. Huh.
So
yeah, think about that one.
It's got to go somewhere. Somewhere there's an amplification point it's hitting and absorbing the energy.
There's a configuration, like there's 4 configurations that I can do with this bifilar coil system that changes the aspects of the whole thing. And one of them that I do, when I put a high voltage in it, I get nothing out. Nothing changes. I'm not seeing any voltage. I'm not seeing any resistance, no heat, no nothing. It just goes into the system and disappears somewhere. And I no idea where. So I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. I'm going to put a video out on it one day just to show what I'm doing, to see if anybody's got any ideas. It's almost like the energy goes dead. Like it's...
Why don't you suspend it and then put a pickup coil under it or under and over it?
Well, I had them beside it, but yeah, that's a good point. Maybe I'll try that.
Energy doesn't go away. It's got to go somewhere.
Maybe it got focused into a beam rather than on the outside. That's a good
That would be cool.
Yeah, that's a good point. Huh. I'm actually going to write that down as a note right now. Thanks, Nate.
Well, I got to learn something, man.
Yeah.
I'd love for that to work.
Definitely. Oh, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I'm going to try that. That's a good idea. I never even thought to do that. I don't know why. So, gentlemen, it's been a long one. It's been awesome. I've dropped a few teasers, and this week or the beginning of next week, I'll drop a few more. So,
Oh,
but
you're
we'll
gonna keep me on that fishing line. Okay.
Sorry, Nathan. I can't let it all out at once because then people will be bored when it comes to APEC, right?
No, I get it. I get it. All right.
All right, guys.
Thank you
Man,
for
are you
showing
still
up,
there?
man.
Did you
Thank
freeze?
you.
Oh, no, you're
No. My webcam is delayed. So
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah,
well,
until
thanks
I
for-
get a new one. And I will get a new one next week's or actually this week. So
I got the Kia Pro. It works pretty good.
yeah, what is that? I'm gonna look it up right now.
Kia Pro.
Kia Pro.
I'm writing that down too because I'm buying one. Buying a setup this week. I'm just not sure what to get yet.
It's on Amazon and they have a deal days on the 16th and 17th.
Oh,
How do
yeah?
you spell it?
Yeah, you'll get it down a lot less. I think they gave me 70% off last time I bought it.
Wow.
How do you spell it?
I think it's KYO.
Oh, KYO. Oh, nice.
So it's just the Pro model. It's I think it's like $80 or somewhere 80, 90 right now.
That's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And then
That's
it'll drop during the deal days if you wait.
90 frames
using
per
now?
second. Nice.
And it gives you 1080p. It's the camera I'm using right now.
Nice.
That's right here. Yeah.
Matter of fact, I bought a second one to put on my experiment, so I have two views. So when I start it up again, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I used to have that, and then I don't know what happened. Something broke in the camera, and now I've only got this one, and it's not the greatest.
You probably did what I did and run some EM fields around it and just blew it out. I'm
Actually-
notorious for that.
On one of my lives, I showed it out. I filled the capacitor, and then I shorted it out, and the short was so strong, the flash was green, and it made like gravitational waves in the camera, and everything froze. So yeah, you're not wrong. That could be what happened.
Consequences of being a mad scientist, huh?
Oh, the meters I've blown, I wish I would have kept them, man. It would have filled a box. I'm telling you, it's crazy. All right, gentlemen, thank you for having me. I
Thank
appreciate
you, Gerald. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
it.
you for coming on. We
And
appreciate
you guys
you.
have a great night, and maybe we'll do this again sometime.
Yeah.
All right, later.
Bye.
All right, Ben, I think we should end it here, man. We got a very cool thing today. What do you say
Yeah.
we do this again next Monday?
Yeah, that sounds like a good. We'll have a think tank Monday. How's
There
that?
you go.
Nice.
We'll try to set it up
Um,
at the same time. Give everybody some time to, I'll set it up in the stream so that everybody knows
Yes.
we're here.
Yeah, and and I wanted to get Mike on, but it looks like he's not here. So yeah, like you said, we've been going on how long?
It's 3 hours, 14 minutes.
Yeah.
It's
Oh yeah,
been a
mine
while.
crashed, so it's gonna be lower. But yeah, we've been going on for a while, and I gotta get to bed because I work tomorrow. So, but
All right, man.
yeah,
We'll set it up for next week. We'll do it on a Monday.
sounds good.
And then we'll invite whoever you guys want. You know what I mean? Crypto, you're always welcome. We'll send you the email.
Yep. And Mike, if you're watching, I still would like you to email me. Putting my email in the chat right now, so you can email me and we can do a one-on-one. So I can order these parts real quick. But yeah, I'm gonna end the stream, guys. I really appreciate everybody. I really appreciate you for doing this, Nathan. It's really cool of you. So
Right on.
I'll see you next Monday.
I had a great time, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Bye. Have a good night.